Welcome back to the Pacific Ocean, a couple hundred meters off Newport Beach, California, for the 2025 Governor's Cup, Balboa Yacht Club's prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship. This is the 58th edition thereof. This is day 5, the final day of racing. We'll wrap up the semifinals, which are both tied at 1-1, and then go into the finals. Both the semis and the finals are first to win 3 races. Tom Eamon here alongside Andy Rose and Matt Whitfield, and we have Jeffrey Peterson on our roving boat again today. A fabulous series of races all week here for the Governor's Cup, including and especially, Andy, yesterday's tied semifinals. We can't remember when we went into the final day with both semis tied 1-1.
Let me talk about that in a minute, but first, we have a special guest here helping us today, Marius Westerlund from Sweden. Marius is a Governor's Cup veteran, was a semifinalist in his last series, and he's with Jeffrey Peterson. They're great friends, and they're on the roving boat together. There's Marius in the cowboy hat. I guess he comes from the Texas part of Sweden.
Yeah, so we're super happy to be here, Andy. Always been a dream of mine to be on this rover boat with Mr. Jeffrey. I'm a little bit disappointed he's not wearing a cowboy hat himself, but yeah, I'm hoping to convert him.
Yeah, next year when we we'll check in with the costume department next year. But actually, I think you guys made a mistake. Today on the boat is not Jeffrey and Marius. It's actually Chris Bretschker and Chris Bretschker here live from the rowing boat. So we'll be here today. Keeping an eye on the action on the water, and looking forward to a great day of racing with you guys.
A little humor to start the day. Okay, well, at any rate, back to the seriousness of this. Tom and Matt, we've been talking this morning, and I predicted originally that I thought Cole Tapper, given his record in the last couple of years, would be sort of a pretty good favorite here. He still is a favorite, but now only 1 of 4. I'm not sure we've seen in a few years the closeness of ability and skills in the top 4. And I think by the 1-1 records, you can already see that, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone, who was watching yesterday and has watched the previous days can see that there's 4 teams who are pretty much evenly matched in these boats, and it's whoever sails well on any given race rather than any team with a speed advantage or a tactical advantage. So yeah, I think it's very, very, very even, and wouldn't like to call how anything's going to go.
The first thing I would probably say about this is it's interesting. Morgan Pinkney is sailing with 4 up. We call it 4 people in the crew. These boats were designed for either 3 or 4 up. There is a weight limit. They are pretty close to the weight limit. Justin Callahan, on the other hand, is, I think, somewhere between 40 and 60 pounds light. In the light air, that is a bit of an advantage, and I think you saw that yesterday, that Morgan's speed, as the wind came up just a little bit, was really good. So I think the key is just to have enough wind for Morgan to use his 4 people. But boy, I could not, Tom, I can't predict a winner on this.
Well, we always try to, and then we usually fail. We've got a interesting morning out here. It's 11:35 Pacific. We're 5 minutes into what is the normal start. We've got a postponement flag, as you can see, on the race committee boat. That's the red and white striped AP signal. And Dr. Don Becker and his superb Balboa Yacht Club race committee, Dr. Don's been leading this for decades. That is the race committee. They are waiting for the breeze to fill in just another knot or 2. And it's really almost raceable now, Andy. Just, 5 knots maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, these boats were designed to, unfortunately in Newport Beach, we do have some light conditions. And they were designed to sail in this. And I think we've seen this week, Tom, that they do it very well. We were having races in 4 to 5 knots of breeze. We would prefer 7, 8, 9, 18.
Which is the prediction.
Which is the prediction. So, yes, I think we'll be just fine. And they've done a great job. This is a long program, this double round robin, semis and finals and consolation rounds. But if you can get it in, and we've been successful for now many years, getting it all in, I think it's the best format, because all the teams are sailing, seriously until the very end, and then they're still sailing for consolation positions.
One of our crack spotters is just updating the wind information for us. We have real-time data coming off the weather mark. He's now saying 6.5 knots at the weather mark up the track just a little bit on this 4-leg course, and the breeze has gone left 204 degrees. We'll keep you posted, but in the meantime, Matt, the AP flag has come down. What's the next flag, and talk us through the pre-start sequence?
Yes, so the first thing went under AP. They've taken AP down, so a minute later they'll do Foxtrot, which will be 7 minutes to the first start. So the first match, which is going to be Hyde from starboard and Tapper from port.
Whoops.
Well,
Something's changed. Maybe it's the wind direction changed, but carry on. Matt, tell us how the pre-start sequence works, please.
So we'll have Tapper and Hyde entering at 4 minutes. It's Hyde entering over the committee boat, and Tapper entering over that yellow mark that you can see in the screen right now, which is the pin end of the starting line. They'll enter and go for 4 minutes, and then once they start the next semi-final match, Callahan and Pinkney will be coming in a minute after the previous start. So they'll do their same dance, and then the consolation round will come through 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, 12th going through.
And Andy, we rather suspect the AP signal has gone back up, the postponement, because of this wind shift 10 or so degrees to the left, and the race committee tries to do what with the course axis?
they want to put it directly upwind. Obviously, sailboats cannot go into the wind. They have to be on attack at an angle to the wind of somewhere on these boats around 35 degrees. But you want it to be fully upwind. If it is not, then one tack is a very long tack and the other one is short. It takes away a lot of the tactical possibilities. You want the boat behind to have a reasonable chance to try to get ahead.
And the course graphic there on the right of your screen now, it shows the four-leg windward lured. Leg one off the starting line, going uphill, zigzagging upwind to the top mark, leaving it to starboard, meaning on your right hand or starboard side, coming back down with the spinnakers, also zigging and zagging because while the boats sail a little bit longer distance, sailing at an angle across the wind rather than dead downwind is actually quicker to get to that bottom gate, even though a slightly longer distance. They go through the bottom gate. They must pass between those two orange marks, and they may round either end to begin leg three, back upwind, zigging and zagging to the windward mark, tacking, as we call it, round the top mark to starboard on the starboard or right-hand side of the boat, and then a final run. We call that downwind sailing a run with the spinnakers to the obverse of the starting line, which then becomes the finish line. Sometimes, Matt, it gets busy because with multiple, we have 12 boats out here from 6 countries, and with 6 matches going on at once, sometimes they intermingle. Do the racing rules apply as between boats in other matches?
Yeah, so, I mean, one of the key things for these semi-finals will be when they are coming across the finish line or coming around the leeward gate, there may well be other boats coming upwind, and the rules of sailing apply as normal. So if a boat is on starboard and you're on port and they're in a different race, you have to avoid them. So not only are they just going to be looking at boats in their race course, they're going to be thinking about the other starts just at certain time periods, which can make a massive difference. We saw yesterday in one race at the leeward mark, there was a boat coming upwind, and they had to alter course to avoid a boat that was coming around the leeward gate. And the boat got a penalty because they forced they were windward boat rounding the mark, and the other boat had to avoid them. So, you know, like it does make a difference to these races, and did do yesterday and can do at other points in time.
Well, it's been enough time, but Tom, it was ironic that you asked Matt Whitfield that question. Matt has personal experience with that particular thing in a Governor's Cup a few years ago.
Yeah, we ended up fouling Cole Tapper's older brother, Finn. I'm not sure if Cole was on the boat with him, but definitely was. Yeah, his brother Finn Tapper. We got in his way, and I don't think that was the best move we've ever done. But
yep, that's all right. Matt is a winner of a 3-time youth match racing champion in the UK and an open match racing champion in the UK. So he's pretty good. But as I said this morning, I've never had a bad series. And
especially as a commentator.
Well, I've never made a mistake as a commentator. It was normally I'm a tactician, and normally the tactician's motto is often wrong but never in doubt.
And any bloody monkey can steer.
And any monkey can steer, exactly. We get to run the boat.
Hey,
Update.
Marius and I have something to say about any.
Oh,
monkey
shut
Oh,
up. Shut up,
dear.
you monkeys.
Okay, let's go to the roving boat with Jeffrey Peterson and Marius Vesterland from Sweden. Jeffrey?
Hey, Tom. Yeah, you know what? They just went down with the AP, so it looks like the race committee is pretty happy with them seeing this clear happen a lot sooner than I think we saw it yesterday. We held on land for a 30-minute postponement, but I'd expect to see similar wind speeds to yesterday and similar direction. And we might just get it a little earlier. Marius, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the wind is filling in, as you're saying. I think these light winds make it a bit trickier maybe for the port entry boat in the start. But I think once we get out of that first dial up, I think it'll be quite even, and it'll be exciting to watch these first two matches.
Yeah, obviously both semifinal matches on 1-1. So, and whenever we were out racing, we treat it as the score is now 0-0, and it's just a first to win 2 race series now. So anything can happen in these light air days, and I know everyone got home and got some good rest. A lot more tame than in years past. Yeah, I think it's going to be some great racing. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, so we've got Foxtrot displayed on the committee boat, so that indicates that there's less than 7 minutes to go to this first start here. Don Becker's got his course set up. The wind is currently 5.5 knots from 212, so kind of settled in the 210s, which is kind of where it's been for the last hour or so. So hopefully that stays. It looks like it has softened up across the course a little bit, and top left looks a little bit light right now. There's a few more holes out there, but as the marine layer starts to clear, that should start disappearing. The breeze should fill in and go right, which right now we don't quite have perfect visibility, but definitely good racing conditions for these Gov Cup 22s.
Andy, let's talk a little. Thanks, Maddie. And thanks, Jeffrey and Marius. Thanks to everybody who's involved. We have a staff of some 20 people here on the Gov Cup TV team, and Christine Gribben, the regatta chair, esteemed regatta chair, has something like 100 and volunteers here on Gov Cup TV, but something like 150 volunteers across the board on the race committee, the umpires, and yada, 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 people on shore. But, Andy, let's talk a little bit about the format, because you're the architect of this double round-robin, semifinals, and then finals format. But an interesting thing, I think, and not to blow smoke again up your skirt, but this is a great idea that you have the other teams, 5th through 12th, still racing in the what we call the playoffs.
Yeah, we always thought from the beginning of the Governor's Cup that it was somewhat of an educational mission in addition to a competition, and it's become, heavily weighted towards the competition. But the least we can do is allow these sailors to sail in as many races as possible. And what we've seen is a good example is Marius's younger brother, Tio, who had never sailed these boats and has, frankly, less experience at match racing than a lot of the skippers, but came in and didn't have a great first day, and then had some incredible days since then, almost made the semifinals.
Let's get into the semifinals. Indeed, as Matt told you earlier, we have Tapper versus Hyde. They're tied on 1-1. They're about to enter into the 4-minute pre-start. Cole Tapper sailing with his veteran crew of Jack Freeman and Hamish Voss. Don't call me Hamish Voss in the Australian. Cole Tapper's 22 his last year in the Gov Cup, representing the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, facing off against Josh Hyde, cross-Tasman rival from the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. Josh sailing with Zach Fong and Nick Drummond. Also, he's a year younger, age 21, has, Andy, one more year in the Gov Cup.
Right.
Here's the pre-start dial-up, Maddie.
Yeah, Hyde in boat 4 on your right-hand side with the yellow flag out, dialing up Cole Tapper here. Cole Tapper with the blue flag out the back, so 3:20 to go, so pretty early in the sequence. Tapper just trying to break this dial up as soon as he can just to get out here. With this wind being a little bit light, there is a bit of pressure to try and break the dial up, because it does take a little bit longer with it tied at 1 apiece.
Wind speed 5.5 knots at 212 degrees. Andy, which side of the course is favored?
I think in this kind of stuff, we're starting at about 210, 212. There'll be some lefties, meaning the left side of the course, I think at times will be favored. But, I think it's more, as we said yesterday morning, it's more the holes in the breeze. We can see looking upwind here that there are some areas of what we call glassy water. which means the wind is not hitting the sea, and that's slower. And so I think it's more staying in the areas where the sea is a bit ruffled because the wind is hitting the water.
Yeah, and so Tapper manages to break the dial up. These guys are exiting out here, just cruising out pretty slowly. In these light conditions, leading back's generally pretty powerful. With these boats, you can get the rudder going, you can kill time if you can get the boats down speed. It's pretty powerful to be able to sit there and slow everything up. And I think one thing to note that's slightly different to yesterday is there's a bit more of a long period, large underlying swell. So if these boats do get head to wind, they may be knocked back a little bit every now and again. If they get slow, it'll be a little bit harder to build speed. Occasionally, if they're near a pin end, trying to build, they might just slip sideways a bit. So that's one thing just slightly different to yesterday.
They're very modern boats, and the keels are actually in cord depth. They're very, very narrow, basically. And, the thicker the cord, it's like an airplane wing, the more lift you gain. But so these boats need to be pressed. They need to go fast in order to make the, very modern keel work properly. Oops.
Yeah, Tapper here kind of coming in. They're roughly downwind of the committee boat here. So Tapper just trying to lead into this pin, try and slow the race down. Hyde just trying to get in so as he's able to get. Hyde doesn't want to get hooked to windward. If he could get a hook to leeward, that's great. Tapper there just basically he's trying to keep this boat sailing as slow as possible, trying to kill time so as he can pick his time to go back. Maybe 30 seconds from the pin here with a minute to go.
They're getting down very close to the port tack ley line, to the pin end, meaning the course that they can sail and still be above it in order to start. The slower they are, because of this keel, they will move sideways a bit. So they have to be very conscious of that. Doesn't do you any good if you're leading if you can't lay the pin end.
Yeah.
On starboard tack, so in a split tack, if Josh is forced to tack off to port, I'd say maybe a little early advantage to Cole Tapper on the lifted tack to start.
Yeah, as we can see now, they're using the space they have to leeward and to up towards the windward committee to build speed. And we'll see if Josh manages to go over the boat or if he's going to tack around and start to windward with a gap of Cole here.
Yeah, he needs to tack. He cannot lay the boat. So give it a little edge to Tapper on that one.
Yeah, at the same time, since the wind has gone right, might be a bit of bias towards the committee end. So although they're a bit slower initially, no, it looks like they're tacking here to lure our Tapper, which is probably a sign that they're not close to Tapper. So early advantage to Cole here.
I think looking up the course, it does look like far left, there's not a lot of pressure. So I think if Tapper's able to get across, if Tapper's not forced to bounce back out and go left, that could be good advantage for Hyde.
Yeah, but I think you correctly said that it may be here that the right is going to pay, at least initially. Josh Hyde has come off of that line very fast, and I think in another little bit, if he tacks, he could cross Cole.
Yeah, I think just looking at the moding, it looks like Tapper's sailing a lower, faster mode, and his crew weight is a little bit further forward, and he seems to be going forwards relative to Josh Hyde right now. Like, interesting to see the boats sailing different, because yesterday they were both sailing pretty similar styles.
Andy and Tom, this is giving me flashbacks to the finals race last year against Cole Tapper and myself in the final series, where it got really light, but there was no wind on the left side of this racetrack. It's shaping up to be almost an identical race.
So
and as we can see here, you go on.
In the pre-start, we got Pinkney and Callahan entering. Pinkney, the port boat, blue in number 12. Callahan in boat 1, just jibing round. You know, as identified, the big right-hand shift has meant that Morgan Pinkney's been able to cross to leeward of Callahan and avoid the dial-up here. You see Callahan's sail barely filling with this breeze just really dropping off. Going to be very, very, very hard to keep these boats moving.
Justin Callahan, Collegiate Sailor of the Year from Harvard, against Morgan Pinkney. They're tied 1-1. Morgan Pinkney from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club. Justin Callahan representing ostensibly the Biscayne Bay Sailing Club, Yacht Club in Florida. Justin sailing with Oliver Lloyd, Harrison Strom, and Morgan sailing, as Andy said earlier, 4 up with Cam Spriggs, Kelly Holtis, and Alice Schmidt.
Yeah, so up the course we can see there's been a big left-hand shift. You can see on the top of the screen, Tapper just tacking over the boat on the left-hand side of the top there. I would, in this race in the pre-start here, I think I'd go advantage Callahan in these light conditions with having one less crew, being a bit lighter, just able to give him a little bit more acceleration through these waves. However, you know, the weight difference isn't enough. He's still got to sail this race well.
You can hear in the background the calls of clear, clear, clear. That's the umpires. There's 2 umpires on each match, one the main umpire and one called the wing. You'll see them in low-slung rubber boats, ribs, and they are umpiring, waiting for a violation to be called via protest flag from one of the boats. And if they deem it to be a protest that should be penalized, they will display either a yellow or blue flag corresponding to the flag being worn on the leech, the trailing edge of their mainsail. And if they decide rather that there's no penalty, they will display a green and white checkered flag.
So here the boat's coming back into the start line, maybe 25, 30 seconds below the committee boat here. So Callahan's got a lot of space to run off down to the line later on if he needs to. Pinkney kind of stuck in pretty close here. See, Pinkney, with this tack, he's pretty close to the committee boat here. He really needs to be able to spin out and get this jibe. With less than a minute to go, Callahan's not got long to burn to this pin end. Pinkney, despite being pretty close to the line, with this super light conditions, it's going to be hard for him to get there with Callahan backing his main and just trying to ease his jib so as he's given as much dirt down to Pinkney as possible. You often see this in team racing, not so much in match racing, but very effective way to throw down more dirty wind than necessarily normally possible.
Yeah, that was actually very well done, and they're down, almost under the ley line to the yellow end. So Callahan really masterfully doing that. Earlier, you might have thought that when Morgan tacked onto port, Callahan would. He realized, though, that I have enough time to get down to that end with speed, and now he is totally in control of Morgan.
Yeah, I think smart job Callahan there going to windward just meant that he's able to getting off the line clean, whereas Pinkney's a little bit tied up to this pin end, having to tack and not quite able to build as much as possible.
Yeah, that was a brilliant start by Justin Callahan and his team. Time and distance, you know, the last minute or minute and a half of any match race start almost invariably comes down to time and distance, and he is very good at it.
Okay, we're going to stay focused on these 2 semifinal matches. They are first to win 3. They're both tied at 1-1, and the winners of these 2 semifinal matches obviously will matriculate, Andy, to use a good Stanford word, into the finals. Another first to win 3 series later today. And up at that top match coming downhill is Cole Tapper with the blue and white kite. Matty, he's leading.
Yeah, Tapper had a good beat there, just was able to just get that little bit of wheels off the start line on that first port, got the first cross, and Josh Hyde following around, maybe 4 or 5 boat lengths behind, doing a jibe set. Tapper just doing the jibe to sink with. So here, the wind is super, super light down the bottom of this course, and it's a little bit more at the top, but, you know, really, really here, going to be important to keep these boats moving downwind. You can see they've gone poles almost all the way on the forestay. Just when it's so light like this, you kind of want to sail the boat as an asymmetric just to try and get it going through the water, build some apparent speed, build speed through the water. And Tapper's done a really good job of that on these downwinds this last couple of days.
Andy, talk to us about symmetric spinnakers, as these boats have, versus asymmetric or A-sails, as you see on other boats. And why did you choose the symmetrical sails when you had Alan Andrews, Staff Commodore Alan Andrews, design the Gov Cup 22s?
You know, we talked a lot. I talked a lot to my friend and 5-time U.S. match racing champion Dave Perry about this, and it's I had already pretty much made the decision, but Dave reinforced it because with asymmetrical chutes, you necessarily have to sail higher. So they'll do big, as Tom called them, zigzags downwind. It is much more difficult to pass. Well, tactics are really important in match racing. And with symmetrical chutes like this, you'll see again, here's Josh Hyde jibing. You know, they can do a lot of jibes. You can actually potentially, if you're close behind the weather mark, you can affect the air of the other boat, throw bad wind basically down to the other boat. So we think symmetrical chutes are best for match racing.
Coming in now to the bottom of the second leg, the downwind leg, to the gate. Let's go to Jeffrey Peterson and Marius Vesterland on the roving boat.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. We are approaching the gate here, and it looks like Josh has managed to make a little bit of a gain here as these boats have jibed onto port. It'll be interesting to see which way Cole Tapper goes. If I were a betting man, I'd say he'd make a left-hand turn right now. But Marius, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's quite a safe choice taking the left-hand turn if you're a bit unsure, as you maintain the starboard advantage. Difficult for us to see from here, though, which mark might be biased. I think from here it looks like the right mark might be a bit closer. So, yeah, looks like they're taking that mark, and your bet is not really paying off here, Jeffrey. I hope you didn't put too much money into that bet, but we'll see Hyde here going for a split. So, maybe, we'll see on the next cross if it was a good or a bad decision from Cole taking that right-hand turn.
So Tapper coming around that left gate, right-hand gate, to going out to the left-hand side of the speed. He does look like he's been headed a little bit in the 10 seconds since he's gone, so he might be a good position for him to tack over and come on top of Hyde. Looking at the race course, it looks like in the Callahan Pinkney race, they definitely have a bit more of a left-hand shift. So maybe Tapper thinks that there's a bit more of that going to come down to him.
Yeah, it looks quite good up the course on the left-hand side. I think we can see Callahan almost hiking out a bit with his upper body there. Sure, he has a guy to leeward, but I think they're getting quite good pressure on the left-hand side. And we can see Josh tacking in here. Maybe he's a bit afraid of that left-hand side coming in. And I think in Josh's mind, what do you think, Jeffrey? What's on his mind? He wants to keep this close for the downwind, right?
Yeah, you know, Josh here, when you're behind, you're just looking to stay in phase with the boat ahead of you and just keep the race close. You know, Andy always likes to taunt that you don't want to be more than about 2 lengths in front on the final downwind of another boat, because it's really easy to pass in these light marginal conditions.
Yeah, I've experienced being passed quite a few times as the head boat, and it's not a nice feeling. So Hyde is trying to put that feeling onto Tapper, and we'll see if he manages to eke his way a bit closer here coming into the last downwind.
So at the top of the course, Callahan just rounded ahead and got his spinnaker up. He's coming downwind. You see Pinkney on your screen just coming into this top mark. Pretty big lead from Callahan, although his spinnaker did just fall out the sky. I think they had a little issue with it hoisting. So, you know, advantage here that Pinkney might be able to come back in with a good set. He might just be able to drift down and get towards Callahan. But a big lead from Callahan already. Maybe that's having that one less crew member, just allowing him just to get a little bit more speed, just helping eke out once he was ahead, just gain that extra half boat length or two.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's in the maneuvers. I think it's where you really notice it. Once the boat gets going, it's probably not that much, but in a maneuver, if you can gain a half boat length on every maneuver, you're going to be have a nice lead, as he does here.
Yeah, and Callahan doing a good job there, just, you know, as he got lifted coming out on that, just jibing around and staying in phase with Morgan Pinkney. As Pinkney jibed off, Callahan got a header, got a lift, and then jibed onto the headed tack. So, you know, real good job of him still thinking, this is a fleet race. I want to get to the finish line as quickly as possible, but I want to stay in the same water.
Well, yesterday we saw Marius's brother, Teo, with a nice lead at the weather mark of his last race, and then completely split from the other boat. And when they came back together, the other boat was a little bit ahead. Teo did a magnificent job of getting to the finish ahead. But I know what Marius was saying, as I'm sure his dad was, and I know what I was, is, what are you thinking? You know?
It's a little soft, 5.5 knots of breeze. We're actually reading the instruments that are on these mark set box, these autonomous marks that the Yacht Club now has for Gulf Cup. 5.5 knots out of about 212. So that is a little west of south. Andrew, what do you expect the breeze to do as the afternoon progresses?
I think it's going to be similar to the last couple of days, Tom. It may go ever so slightly more to the right, to the west, but I don't think we're going to have a barn burner of a breeze today.
So we got Tapper just going for his set here. This is one of the last chances Hyde's going to get to make big gains out of without sailing his boat into more pressure. So here Tapper with a nice set, just trying to extend out. maybe 4 or 5 lengths ahead, which is on the edge. Is Josh Hyde going to be able to affect him? It's going to be hard for Josh Hyde to gain too much, but going for a jibe set there.
Well, you never give up, but that is a nice lead, and these are, in this light winds, these are fairly short windward lured legs, so I think almost time for the Sea Monster, Tom. You know, I think Cole will win this pretty handily.
I've forgotten the Sea Monster story. Remind us, Andrew.
Well, this was some years ago when we were doing this, and Tom Eamon said, well, that lead is, you know,
all but insurmountable.
All but insurmountable, unless, you know, the mast falls over the side or a sea monster
appears.
So Tapper did the smart thing there, just extended out away from the boats on the beach. So he just extended away and then jibed back to come back in, but not taking any dirty wind from any other boats and being able to sail his own race here. See, as Hyde comes back, Tapper's able to come back in. He might think about jibing, or he might, as Hyde actually just jibes on top of him. Hyde just trying to be able to throw some dirt down onto a spinnaker, and Tapper here, if he thinks he's being affected, he's got a decision to make. If he's got clear wind, he's in the same water as Hyde, and he's able to sail this step down to the finish.
Yeah, Cole has just better speed here. It's a little more puff than Josh Hyde does, so you can see the difference in the spinnakers. Cole's has been full now nicely for the last minute or so, and those can be big gains.
Yeah, so on this lead, basically, it's hard for Hyde to do too much to affect him, but he's close enough that he might, if he can make Tapper feel a bit nervous, Tapper give away a boat length just to try and keep clear air, he might be able to get on him, but, you know, very hard for Hyde to do too much here without a little gain somewhere.
Yep.
And Tapper doing the right thing of just sailing his own race nearby.
Let's go out to Jeffrey and Marius, who are following this Tapper-Hyde match.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yeah, you know, to me, this match has been kind of a start ahead, stay ahead kind of match. You know, Cole Tapper had a little bit of an advantage off the start line when Josh was forced to do 2 tacks of the committee boat. And in these conditions, there's not a ton of shifts available to, you know, find passing lanes on the upwind. And if you're not within 2 boat lengths on the downwind, it's very tough to pass. So it's kind of a rich get richer scenario right now. And Cole Tapper and his team doing a superb job of just extending their lead and staying in between Josh and the finish line.
Yeah, I think Josh has actually caught up a little bit. But again, what you do when you're the boat in front, nobody's going to remember how much you won by. You just need to be sure you win. And that means covering and staying, you know, from ahead on a downwind leg, but staying in the same water as the other boat. So you won't hit a flat spot, you know, or if you do, the other boat will too.
Coming into the finish now, Matt. Tapper's going to go up 2-1 in this semifinal series with Josh Hyde. And Tapper, who struggled, guys, during the rounds robin, he lost actually 6 matches to the, I wouldn't call astonishment, but surprise probably of all of us. You have a saying, Andy, about old age?
Old age and treachery beats youth and enthusiasm all the time. So here's another example. Old age, 22.
And the max age is 23. You cannot have turned 23 before the end of the regatta. Is that the rule?
That is correct.
Notwithstanding that World Sailing wants to bump that now to U25, and that's cretonic. That's absolutely insane to move a youth event to age 25, for God's sakes.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more.
Jordan Reese on the morning show made it very clear. He's one of the top coaches in our sport, coaches the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, and he's got a virtual petition going from the sailors. And Andy, you took a poll, and they all said, with 1 or 2 exceptions, said, stuff that. Leave it at 23. Meanwhile, Matt.
You got Justin Callahan coming up to the final windward mark in his race. Morgan Pinkney in the back of the screen. This is a big, big lead from Callahan. He seemed to extend on the downwind, extend on the next, and this beat again. So it, you know, seems like he's got a little bit of a speed edge, or he's just able to find and get to those gusts first. But, you know, real good confidence boost for him. You know, coming in and having a real sail away job.
Yeah, I think the weight has to be helping. Interestingly, Morgan had, when he signed up and put in his first crew list, was going to sail with 3 people. And then only about a week ago, he decided to add a 4th. And I'm not sure that was the right decision.
And Andy, there's the rules allow you to sail with 3 or 4, or is it just simply a maximum weight?
It's a maximum weight. I mean, but yes, in effect it is 3 or 4, and that was designed to be that way, so that it would be easier for smaller women to compete, to put 4 people on the boat and still be at close to the weight limit, and some of the bigger guys still could sail, which is really important when you look at collegiate sailing and high school sailing. If you're tall and fit but weigh 170 pounds, there's no place for you.
Exactly. Fair. I mean, not only a fair point, a fabulous point. How many women? Just do you remember? This is an unfair question because we haven't gone through the list, but there's a fair few women sailing this, both as crew, and we've had one time I remember an all-female crew. So there's nothing at all that stops women or smaller statured people from sailing in this event, as well as bigger, older guys.
Yeah, we've had there are 2 that come to mind most obviously are the Bergqvist from Sweden, Johanna and Isabella, I believe, and they were terrific and needless to say very popular. And then our great friend Claire Costanzo, who has been a commentator for us before, from Australia, from the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club, and they both did well, no question about it. We have had one female winner, Giselle Kamei, years ago. Should have had a second one, Silja Leitinen from Finland, who went on to get I think a silver medal in the Olympics. Silja was leading basically until the last day, and this was in the older boats, and just didn't have enough weight. It blew, and unusually for Newport, it blew, and they just didn't have enough weight. But otherwise, she had outsailed everybody.
Yeah. So Justin Callahan coming through the finish line. In about 30 seconds, he'll be able to cross the line, get 2-1. I think he definitely thinks that he picked Morgan Pinkney, and Morgan Pinkney was pretty clear yesterday that Morgan thought he had an advantage because he was heavier, but that was when it was 7, 8, 9 knots. Whereas right now, in the five knots we have, seems like that's an advantage Callahan in the distance that he's been able to pull out in this. So I think Callahan would be confident coming forward into this race, and if you're Pinkney, you got to reset and think, how do we try and stay more competitive in this?
Well, that's a big lead. That's a 10, 12 boat length lead, maybe a touch more. But remember too, as I'm sure you both do, and we'll go out to Jeffrey for a little analysis if we've got Jeff. But also, he frankly stuffed the start. He lost the start badly to Justin Callahan. Morgan Pinkney is going to be wanting to have a much better start because this is a must-win match for him now. He's down 2-1 in a first to win 3. Likewise, Josh Hyde is down 2-1 in the other semi. Jeffrey?
Yeah, Tom. Yeah. Not much more to say about that. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's just a tricky start for Morgan, just a little too down speed. He was in a good position, but you're just slow off the line, and that plays out in amplitudes later on in the race. 3 or 4 tacks later, then we looked and Justin was able to just capitalize on the fact that Morgan was slow off the line.
Yeah, a lot of because of Justin's doing though. Justin did a masterful job there of matching speed and sailing down on Morgan so that Morgan was in disturbed air most of the time, and he managed to carry that on until Morgan could not lay the left end of the line and had to do those last minute down speed tacks.
Marius, I think you wanted to add to that, Marius?
No, I think looking at both Morgan and Justin, that they're of course really, really good sailors, but my feeling looking at them is that Morgan, he can be a bit more aggressive at the starts, and sometimes that ekes out a big advantage, and sometimes when it doesn't really go his way, he loses out a bit more, while Justin seems to me a bit more consistent, where most of the time he hasn't been getting these huge wins maybe in the pre-starts, but he's been just been very, very solid throughout the whole event. And yeah, now he's maybe stepping up another level here going into finals day, as that pre-start was really well executed from Justin.
Morgan Pinkney and his team, as you can see on their pennies, or that's an American word for the pullovers or the vests that they're wearing with the white N and the orange circle around, representing their Newport Harbor Yacht Club, the cross harbor rival of Balboa Yacht Club. Morgan Pinkney, Cam Spriggs, Kelly Holtis, and Alice Schmidt, who've had a terrific regatta so far. And now we'll see, Andy or Matt, can they come back and win in a must-win situation to even this semifinal up? They're down 2-1 to Justin Callahan.
Yeah, I think Morgan's definitely the type of character where if he is 2-1 down, he knows he just got to win the next two. He's not going to be phased by being 2-1 down. If anything, he almost would prefer that just to get the juices flowing, get him fully amped up, which I know from talking to him last night and the night before, he's very, very excited for this and really, really pumped to try and do as well as he can.
Yeah, I would just disagree. I think he probably would have rather won that race. But at any rate, we have had a bit. The wind is slowly going to the right. We've gone from about 210, 212 to 225 degrees from whence the wind is coming. And that's a good sign. Generally, it will probably have a slow build here. It's still about 5.5 knots at the weather mark, but this is a good omen.
Yeah, I think definitely the breeze is still staying pretty light, but it seems like there's a few less holes across the course. It seems like the holes are just a little bit smaller right now, so it's definitely starting to get into the epic conditions that we had for all of yesterday after those first two races. It's still only 12:15 by the time it gets to 2 o'clock. Should be a little bit windier. So I think that's one thing that, for Callahan, in the Pinkney match, definitely this race is now a must-win race for Pinkney, but it's maybe not the conditions he wants.
Well, if you're a Newport Beach sailor and we're still looking for wind, if it isn't strong enough, we encourage ourselves by saying, well, it's only 11:15 sun time, which means because we're in daylight savings, it actually is earlier, so it has more time to come in. We'll see if that's true, but it always makes us feel better.
We're looking now at Josh Hyde, who's the other boat at the short end of the stick in that semifinal with Cole Tapper. Josh representing the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, who Andy has said any number of times this week what a terrific program they have for youth match racers. And we've got Hyde on the screen here. Josh Hyde, Zach Fong, and Nick Drummond, Andy.
Yeah, we ought to actually give some credit to the boat sailing in the Consolation rounds. I believe Michael Kirkman just won that. Is that true, spotters?
Yeah, Kirkman has gone 2-0 up and taken 5th place in the Gov Cup against Westerland.
Wow. Well, after Tio was sailing so well, that's a minor upset there. But
Well,
both of those boats.
He's a Michigan boy.
He is a Michigan boy.
Michael Kirkman from Novi, Michigan, Bayview Yacht Club, and a terrific group of sailors. And to be fair, both he and Westerland have been fighting it out kind of in the middle,
Absolutely.
just below the semifinal level. Michael sailing with Peter Jocelyn and Hamilton Barclay from the Bayview Yacht Club in Detroit. They run the Bayview Mackinac race. In fact, Michael sailed in both the Bayview and the Chicago Max, the races up the lakes to Mackinac Island.
I believe his 10th and 11th, except for the first one, which was when his mother was pregnant with him.
Yeah.
But his recollection of that race wasn't that good. But,
At all of age 22.
I would say condition-wise, Tom, that this is very similar to a lot of days I spent on Lake St. Clair in the Canada's Cup trials, with the exception is there are no bugs.
Well, I said it yesterday, from being from Michigan, I think it's okay for me to say that our state bird is the mosquito.
But a great place. Bayview Yacht Club is one of my favorite clubs. They're all sailors and, terrific club, terrific location. And Lake St. Clair is really sort of fun, except for the times when a thunderstorm would come in and all the Californians were on an aluminum boat and we didn't know what to do. But
if you're just joining us, this is the 58th edition of the oldest and most prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship in the world. Started in 1967. The Governor's Cup, and Andy, the Governor's Cup was donated by then Governor Ronald Reagan before he was president.
Indeed, and we're quite honored to have that honor, and we thank the late Ronald Reagan. That was sort of an unusual and amazing thing, really, when you think about it.
And we talk about the names of the boats, and one of the boats is named after the founding couple, Tom Purcell's parents.
Well, I believe we still have two boats. We have Chet and Glee. So two of the boats here.
Chet and Glee Purcell.
Chet Glee Purcell, who founded this. And, Tom raises a good point. The people that got to name the boats gave enough, really, to build each boat, and that was a substantial amount of money. And the generosity of the members of BALBOA Yacht Club is incredible. But we also had some help from people like the then Commodore of New York Yacht Club, Phil Lotz, his foundation, sent us some money. The Cruising Yacht Club of Australia sent us some money. So we had helped some of their sailors get up here financially, and they said, well, it's the least we could do. It just really warms your heart, and it reinforces the fact that this is a truly international event of some importance.
And who's raised all that money?
Uh,
Who's been the spear carrier?
I guess it's sort of me, but this is my announcement. I'm going to give up that job for Governor's Cup next year.
You are? Oh,
Somebody hear me, please.
Was chair for life, Christine Gribben taking that on, or do you have somebody else in mind?
I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it's fun, but it's also there's some pressure because, like everything else, the costs have gone up. We put on quite a show, as I think all the sailors would agree, and all that great food and hors d'oeuvres and breakfast every morning and all that costs money. So, but we did very well this year, thanks to some incredibly generous people, and Terry Cowsey, who's been the premier sponsor, the presenting sponsor every year, has stepped up again. We lost one of our bigger sponsors, and I was a bit worried, but my client Cliff Ronenberg, who owns one of the most classic racing maxi boats ever, Windward Passage, he stepped up the level of his contribution. Spencer Crowell, who's the son of Jack Crowell, who has been with us for 20 some odd years and funded a boat each time with the 21s and 22s. Spencer increased their contribution, so we didn't have that deficit all of a sudden. And we can't thank them enough. And everyone else that gave everything, including what we call our grassroots sponsors, that even might have given $100 or $50 or something like that. Every one of them is important and allows us to do this pretty awesome event.
Hey, on the course, in a match we've been following because they're both local heroes, Dylan C. from the Newport Harbor Yacht Club and Sienna Nichols from Balboa Yacht Club, they're fighting for 7th and 8th place. What's their standing now? I think Nichols was leading going in, and now his C just won that match, so they're tied at 1-1 in a first to win 2?
No. Our spotter is saying no.
Nichols comes 7th overall, winning 2-0 in the
She has now won both.
Series.
Wow, because she also beat Dylan in the rounds robin. They were tied on points, but because she won the second round robin match, she actually finished ahead. But what a tight series those two have had. And Andy, let's talk about what those two did in the Rose Cup, the U.S. Youth National Match Racing Championship.
Well, even before that, Tom, last year, Dylan C. was able to eke out a victory over Sienna to get 11th and 12th. But then
here in Gov Cup.
At Gov Cup, and then the United States Youth Match Racing Championship for the Rose Cup this year, just a month ago, Dylan was able to win that with Sienna a very close second. The two it was a tough fleet, but those two were from the very beginning. I predicted that they would be in the finals, and they were. They just really sailed brilliantly. But now Nichols has not quite even the score, but got a big win here against C.
She is the youngest competitor, the only female skipper this year, although as you said we've had others in the past, but she's only 16, about to turn 17. She's steely-eyed, tough, smart, and to be fair, so is Dylan C., who's going to be, a junior at Stanford next year? Sophomore at Stanford, and a very bright guy. And two local teams who are great friends, but also great competitors.
Yep, indeed. Well, Sienna, as I know, Jeffrey calls her the teenage assassin, and she only has 6 more Governor's Cups, Tom. And Matt, she only has 6 more tries at this. I guarantee she's going to be a multiple winner. She may be the first to set the 3 wins record.
Let's talk about that because you've had 20 some odd two winners,
14,
double winners.
Yeah, 13, and if Cole wins, he would be the 14th.
Oh, 13. So
yep.
He will be the 14th if he can win it again. Jeffrey's won it twice. Yep. You've won it twice.
Yep.
But no one's ever won it 3 times?
Nope.
Jeffrey we thought might, but Cole beat him last year.
Yep.
And you think now with how many more years does Sienna have?
6.
Bloody hell. There are a lot of VIPs out here, both from Balboa Yacht Club and Newport Harbor Yacht Club. Look at this may be as large a spectator fleet as we've ever had.
No, not quite, but it's still good.
Nice fleet of boats that have come out from Newport Harbor, including Newport Harbor Yacht Club and Balboa Yacht Club. Staff Commodore Paul Blank is out here with some VIPs aboard his boat, and you've got a sponsor boat. And I should mention Paul Blank, who is they say here on the West Coast, Staff Commodore, which most of the rest of the world we call them past or former Commodores, but Staff Commodores because they're continue to help staff the club in various capacities. And I was talking this morning with the current Commodore, Brett Hemphill, and asked him, how many of his current flags, meaning members of the board and other officers, plus his so-called bridge, the Commodore, Vice, and Rear Commodore, how many of those folks plus past Commodores or Staff Commodores are involved? And just sitting there with Christine this morning, I think we counted to 20 current flag officers and past Commodores involved as volunteers at this 58th edition of the Governor's Cup. Amazing volunteer support, Andrew.
Yeah, it really is. It's cliche to say that every single one of them is important, but I'm sorry, every single one of them is important. All right.
Paul Blank also on his boat. I know that if I couldn't be here enjoying Kari Bretschker, who, speaking of past Commodores, past Commodore Peter Bretschker owns this boat, Adios, from which we do our broadcasts. And we're very lucky to have again this year Adios, and the parents, of course, of our producer-director, Chris Bretschker. And Kari is the director of craft services. She keeps us fed and, hydrated, to put it politely. But I know over on Paul Blank's boat, that's maybe the only other boat that you'd rather be on because he serves great food and a mean martini. Not that I drink, but he's fabulous.
No, he is.
Maddie, what's going on in these other playoff matches?
So you've just got Kemp there with the black kite coming through to take 9th overall in his match for 9th and 10th against Melchior. So Melchior with the green kite there just crossing, so Kemp taking that 2-0. He won the race yesterday, won this one now.
Daniel Kemp, a really, at least for us, a popular skipper, just couldn't be nicer guy. As I pointed out on Tuesday night, he last year sailed with his girlfriend on the bow, who also, Tom, I remember you noticed that she was helping with pre-start tactics.
She was indeed.
And so I asked why, that you've become an Aussie sexist pig. You've gotten rid of your girlfriend. And he told me he says, I'd rather not discuss it. And he told me after the dinner that she texted him 6 times during the dinner. So I think that relationship will continue, and a great gal, and I think he just decided to go 3 up instead of 4. Frankly.
Well, clearly she's giving him advice, but from afar.
Yes, indeed.
Daniel
indeed.
Kemp, Lachlan Wallace, Charlie Verity representing Australia, and they are from the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club, another esteemed, top-notch youth yacht club. A proper senior yacht club, but with a great youth program from which the Spithill family has emerged.
Indeed.
3-time winner of the America's Cup, Jimmy Spithill. Tommy Spithill, who's been here as our roving boat reporter in past years. And they have a sister whose name escapes me, who is also a superb sailor.
Indeed. We had, for the 50th anniversary, and I think on one other occasion, Jimmy Spithill came out to join us, and we didn't tell any of the sailors. He just walked into the briefing room, and it was awesome. And he told his Governor's Cup story, which is, he says, I was on the bow the first time, and I didn't know anything about how to do that job. And then the next time, we didn't do very well, and so he didn't do very well. Neither did Taylor Canfield, who went on to become world match racing champion, et cetera. So it's interesting. Different ages, people mature at different times. And I think with those two, it took a little bit to get there, but boy, they get there.
Well, I think the lift that the morning show gives to competitors is once again confirmed because we had Daniel Kemp on the morning show this morning at 0900 in our guest skipper spot, and he's gone now, guys. Is that right? He's won his playoff 2-0.
Correct. Yeah. So he's taken 9th place overall here.
Again, that format, Andy, is great. It keeps everyone sailing right through the final day. Lots of interest, lots of attention for our international audience. We do this, believe it or not, I know it's hard to believe. We don't do this for our own egos, our own satisfaction. We do it for the friends and families at the home yacht clubs and beyond of these sailors. Do we have another result in the playoffs?
So we've got Leddy and Fong coming downwind. Fong trailing, but is 1 up in the series. So, this might be going to go to 1-1. But Fong's close enough that he's going to be able to attack.
Well, let me just correct Tom on something. We do it a little bit for our egos.
Well, I was being a bit sarcastic in
I
case
know you were.
You didn't notice, Andrew.
I know you were.
But guess who we had on the morning show and the other skipper this morning, and he's winning too. Right? Adam Leddy was in the morning show. Isn't he leading in that match, guys? Adam Leddy?
You might have just put the curse on him. Looks like he's being rolled right now. So maybe the morning show is where you need to stop being talked about.
Very good, Matt. Very good. Well, Adam and his crew, I had a chance, as did Tom, to talk to them at some length. What great guys. I mean, they're just fantastic guys. And they probably have the least experience of any of these teams. And, so you're not going to win. But I asked Adam if he was going to continue in a match race, and he said, oh, yeah. So I think we have another one that has been bitten by the match racing bug.
He's 22, so this is his first but also his last Gov Cup. Adam Leddy from the Greystone Sailing Club, I believe it's Sailing Club, in Ireland, sailing with Evan Smith and Ben Lumley. They all have mustaches. We keep teasing them that they look like a 1980s porn stars, but they're fabulous guys, very bright, very enthusiastic, sail a lot of other boats, including big boats, and have learned, they've learned a ton here and enjoyed every minute.
Well, we've enjoyed having them, like all these kids. As Tom, I call this my second Christmas week because they're inspiring. They're all bright and able and excited. And here we go. It's getting close.
Yeah, so here they've got it about 100 yards into the finish. This is the leeward gate you can see in the screen, but they got to come down to the start-finish line. Fong just trying to get breathing out front. Looks like he's got the hull speed to do that. So I think Fong just looking like he's going to be able to come across the line.
Yep.
Maybe one more jibe into the finish at the end, just to take this 11th, 12th playoff 2-0.
Oh, it's a great race, though. Close racing, Tom Eamon.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
We said
A
that.
match race that's close.
We said it yesterday, and unlike the America's Cup, you mean.
That's what I mean.
I know. I knew what you meant. But not only did we say it yesterday, and we wrote it in the press release last night, but the matches, the semifinal matches were actually the exception. They were not that close this morning. They certainly were yesterday. And I expect they're going to close up here now as the breeze is still at about 5.5 knots, but going a touch further right to 225 degrees. Let's go. Do we have Jeffrey? Yeah, let's go out to Jeffrey and Marius. Jeffrey, who's not, he grew up here. He's now living in the East Coast, having just graduated from Georgetown University and soon to be working in the FIDI, the financial district in New York City. But he's got a lot of experience in these waters. Jeffrey, what's your expectation for the wind and wind direction as we go through this afternoon?
Yeah, Tom, I'm just taking a look uphill right now, and I'm noticing that the race committee's got the yellow mark in the water, the change mark. So the default mark is red, but they have it to the right of the default mark, indicating that they're starting to see a little bit of a right-hand shift. And given that it's about 12:30 today, I'd expect it to continue to trend right. We might have some flicks back left, and maybe some pressure increase. I don't know if we'll see a full westerly breeze build that we might come to expect in the late summers here in California. We just haven't seen that condition this week. But here comes Foxtrot and the fourth race of the semifinals. Let's get excited, folks.
Jeffrey, the bot is telling us that it's now up to 6.7 knots at 236. So it's gone another 10 degrees to the right. And as I said, I agree with you, Jeffrey. I don't think we'll get a full-on westerly, but the more right it goes, the better it bodes for a nicer breeze.
Absolutely. That paired up with the marine layer continuing to clear. We still can't quite see Palos Verdes or Catalina yet, but that's always a really good indicator of what's to come.
Yep.
Maddie Whitfield, Andy Rose, Jeffrey Peterson, Marius Vesterland are the commentators here. I'm your host here, kind of the in-studio host. But it is another day in paradise out here on the Pacific Ocean. We're enjoying every minute of this. We hope you are as well. We're getting texts and comments in the chat from around the world. Thank you for joining us. Matt, set the field, set the stage, please, for this next semifinal match about to begin in just under a couple minutes.
Yeah, so first up, same order as we had last time, except the flags are going to be reversed. So Tapper and Pinkney will be the 2 starboard entry boats, and Hyde and Callahan will be the 2 port entry boats. So, you know, Tapper on match point and Callahan on match point in their respective matches. So must win for Josh Hyde to keep it alive, must win for Morgan Pinkney to keep it alive. So looking up the course, it looks like there's a few less holes on the race course. There's still quite a lot of big holes, but you know, a lot less so. So with this increase in pressure, that might be to Pinkney will be able to mitigate that what seemed to be a bit of a speed disadvantage in this light conditions. But in the Tapper and Hyde race, you know, they seem both pretty even on speed. Cole Tapper was just a little bit fast. It's just a little bit ahead off that start line, and just able to sail a really smart race. As these guys have 5 minutes to go for their first start. Tapper starboard entry, Hyde port, so they will be entering in a minute.
Cole Tapper, Jack Freewin, Hamish Vass, Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, against Josh Hyde, Zach Fong, Nick Drummond from the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron in Auckland. 2 great clubs, 2 great teams, and a must-win, as Matty just said, for Josh Hyde.
Who do you think wins this race, Tapper or Hyde, Andy?
I still am having a hard time predicting. Cole sailed, you know, really well last race. That was just sort of textbook, nothing flashy, just textbook match racing. I think if he continues to do that, I think, you know, again, this is a 21-year-old against a 22-year-old, and that may seem like nothing. In match racing, it's not, because during that year, the extra year, he will have had 4 or 5 major match races under his belt.
4 minutes to go with them entering. I think with this a little bit more pressure here, you know, should be slightly easier to break up the dial up. But you know, Hyde coming in just wants to try and get settled, try and get in and get into this race course where Tapper, I think, has had the slight edge in these pre-starts over the last 3, like marginally. I think that's why he's 2-1 as opposed to 1-2. So I think Hyde, you know, maybe he's going to think about doing something slightly different, or does he just think that he had the right plan and just executed it wrong last time? So be interesting to see how he approaches this must-win match. Cole Tapper in boat 6, Josh Hyde in boat 4.
Yeah, and I would just like to jump in here real quickly that although it's a must-win match for Hyde, it will be quite tough for Cole to lose this one, because going in, you really don't want to be complacent here, because if you lose this match or 2-2, and all of a sudden Hyde will have the momentum going into the last one. So you really want to be pushing it everything you can here as Cole to finish off this match and not let it go all 5 matches.
Yeah, I think good point, Marius.
You see here the crew work really important here just to build speed coming out of that dial up. You see Tapper's done a real good job of making it so that he builds speed, so as Hyde is now locked to windward of him. So Hyde can't actually come back to the start line. Tapper's got control here and is going to be able to stuff him up head to wind at some point if he wants to.
6.7 knots at 236. It's gone a touch right, and it's coming up a click or 2. More breeze.
So here, Hyde just trying to work the boat, trying to stop it, get a speed delta so as he can force to be able to get out into attack. And Tapper doing a smart thing from his point of view and keep the hull speed on so as you can dictate what you want to do. So Hyde just trying to break it up and try and be able to build the speed, and Tapper just trying to circle around and say, I'm going to have hull speed and I'm going to control you from that. So this is all about how the crew work performs for the next 30 seconds.
I think as Tapper here going into this situation, you want to make sure you can block Hyde going both to the left and to the right. So you'll see Cole here trying to maintain the swing, and if Josh comes down, that he can stop him, and if Josh tacks, he can stop him. Let's see here if Josh manages to escape.
Yeah, I think Tapper just doing a real good job with his crew, just getting left, right on the boat, just keeping the hull speed up. Only 1:20 to go to the start, so Hyde really does need to be able to break this up pretty soon, which it seems like he's just about done. But still a good position here from Tapper where he can basically decide when he wants to come back to the line with not a lot of time to go, and Hyde's got to pick, does he want to go inside or does he want to follow?
Well, by now, both have made their choice of which side of the course they'd like to go. In other words, if they want to go left, they think there may be a little header and be able to tack onto a lifted tack closer to the mark, or is it vice versa? Is it the right? And it's a little early, but I think maybe the right probably 55-45 is maybe a little better.
Yeah, I think Tapper done a really good job of sailing these boats down away from the start line. So now they're coming back with 30 seconds to go. He's tight lured. If he can get up into Hyde, he can really slow them down off the start and pin Hyde into this committee boat and allow Tapper to build speed how he wants on starboard, but Hyde's going to be boxed in and unable to build this speed.
It's looking like it's going to be quite a similar start to last time.
Exactly. That's just what I was thinking, Marius. Hyde, unfortunately, cannot lay the committee boat and will have to do two downspeed tacks, and let Cole Tapper away. Again, not a slam dunk start, as we call them, when you're obviously 4 or 5 boat lengths ahead, but still a very good start by Cole. But Josh Hyde has come up to speed quite quickly here, Tom.
I think Josh was fighting for the right. He got the right. There's a little more. Look at, he's in pressure now. Yep. Pressured up, maybe lifted, meaning sailing a little more directly upwind toward the top mark. We'll see here at the first cross, Matt. What do you think?
I think.
Ooh.
I think Hyde has just been able to just hook into
big
new pressure
lift. Look
here.
at that.
Yeah.
So he's able to point 10 degrees higher, and you see his shoulders are down, whereas Tapper and his team, their shoulders are up. So I think, although these boats are so close together, massive change in the wind pressure.
Yeah. So Cole is conceding that he is now behind. That's why he tacked, and Josh tacking right on him. Well, great move to get the right. And Cole tacking again, the boat behind. A tacking duel is a classic way to try to, gain a little bit, but more often than not, it ends up losing a little more because you are forced to do 2 downspeed tacks, and that is slow.
What do you lose in attack in this condition in these boats?
Depends how good your tacks are, but pretty much you're probably losing quarter of a boat length, half a boat length. But if you're down speed, then you lose maybe half a boat length to a boat length. So it's really more the down speed tacks are the main issue.
Yep. Well, look at this. It's going for.
That was a dial down.
It was a dial down.
And a protest flag, the Y flag. Inviting the umpires to rule it's green flag.
Green flag. Yeah, I'm not sure I would have done a dial down this early in the race when you're protecting probably the favored side.
Yeah, I think Josh Hyde's given up the right-hand side. He's made a conscious decision. That that dial down, I think, is him saying, Tapper, I don't want you to be left of me.
Right.
So I think he thinks he's seen something out there. If I look left, all I see is there's a bit of chop and boat wake out there, and I don't see a lot of pressure.
Let's go out to Jeffrey and Mario. So what was that dial down all about, gents?
I don't know. I think Josh saw a little bit of red in his eyes. Back up against the wall there. He thought he had an opportunity to put Cole away with a penalty, but I'm never a big fan of the dial-up. It just brings the boat close together. The advantage that Josh did have ahead and on the right is now gone, and I think we're going to see a lead change here.
Yeah, I always call it the dial downs are. It's the same thing with the computer. Just because a computer can do something doesn't mean it should. Just because you know how to do a dial down does not mean you should. And I think, in my experience, more often than not, you lose a little bit.
And there is, as Jeffrey said, a lead change.
Yeah, but it's very close though. So if Josh can maintain this small gap up until the windward mark, I think we're going to have a very exciting downwind on our hands. Tapper will try and squeeze Hyde off here and maybe make some sort of mismatch where he can accelerate a bit quicker or get a few extra boat lengths coming into the windward mark, as both of them are now slightly above the ley line. So we'll see if Tapper can make a good job accelerating and building a gap coming into this downwind.
Yeah, see, Hyde now has to build in the dirty breeze of Tapper. So Tapper, maybe if he can eke that boat length or two, that's enough for him to get away. So back in the pre-start here, we got 140 to go with Callahan to leeward, Pinkney above, trying to roll over here. Pinkney taking the lead. Pinkney's had some success with taking the lead yesterday, but in that last race, Callahan led and, won the start. So, I think Pinkney Pinkney feels confident here, and if he's got 1:15 to go, they're maybe 50 seconds from the pin end. So not a lot of time that Pinkney needs to burn, particularly if he's got Callahan in there down speed. With that jib not working, it's going to be really hard for Callahan to get up to speed here. So you want your down speed in dirt, very hard to build. 1 minute to go. I think a good job here from Pinkney here, just trying to stay high on Callahan's line, give him some dirt, and then just try and keep him as slow as possible.
Almost a little fake tack by Callahan there.
I think if you're Pinkney there, you're okay with the fake tack there, because you had to kill speed to get that fake tack. So I think Pinkney saying, I want the right, I'm okay with that, and I'm going to have right-hand side, and I'm just going to get a good start. You're going to be late.
Yeah, let's go back to that start, guys, if we could. There we go. Yeah, and also what's happening here is the same thing that happened last time. What Pinkney was trying to do is drag Callahan down below the ley line, the ability to pass that yellow buoy on your left side. But, oh boy, 6, 5, 4, 3. I think Callahan probably has to tack out of there and does so.
Yeah, I think advantage Callahan. I think both these starts today, Pinkney has been looking good, and then in the 20 to 30 seconds to go, he's just stayed low of the line, stayed deep. And you want to stay low so as you can come full speed across, but it seems like he's almost just given Callahan the start that Callahan wants both times. Yep. Relatively even start though here at a boat speed race from this for the next part.
Okay.
Just quickly, Justin Callahan sailing with Oliver Lloyd Harrison Strong. We keep emphasizing the crews because they're so important in these boats. And sailing with the other team with Morgan Pinkney is Morgan, Cam Spriggs, Kelly Holtis, and Alice Schmidt. But coming into the gate, Matt.
Yeah, Cole Tapp with the blue kite, just leading maybe 2 boat lengths ahead. He's going around that right-hand turn, so going up to the left-hand side of the beat here like he did last time. He thinks he likes it. He worked for the pin end on that beat. I think he thinks there's something in it. Is it just the bias on the gate? I'm not sure. But Josh Hyde takes the split and takes the right coming up to the right of this beat. So this is Josh Hyde's chance to make the pass. If he can gain on this right-hand side, he's going to have some leverage to do so.
Now the wind's already gone down about 10, or gone to the right about 10 degrees since the race before, and what he's hoping for, if he were to get another 10 degrees header, then he would be able to tack and cross Justin Callahan. And longer the day goes, the more likely that is to happen.
Yeah, I think Hyde's only really going to be tacking back when he thinks he's got a shift. So he must be thinking he's got a bit of right pressure or something. But
yeah, I'm not sure he does.
Yeah, Tapper here getting across there. I think Tapper, if Tapper slams, Tapper wants the left again. But if letting him go out to this left-hand side means I think Tapper wants the right-hand side.
Yep.
Which did dividends for him on that first beat.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Now, have we resolved all but one of the playoff pairs?
All the playoffs went 2-0.
All the playoffs
so
are
all
done
playoffs
at 2.
are done.
Okay, good. So I just saw a boat with the mainsail up, and I didn't know if they were still. The other boats have tied up with the VIPs. Is there one more, or are we done?
No, we're done.
Okay. Let's just review those playoffs for people at home when we have the moment. Kirkman and Vesterland, that was the match for 5th and 6th, and that was won by Kirkman. Nichols and C for 7th and 8th, won by Nichols. Kemp and Melchior for 9th and 10th, won by Kemp. And then Fong and Letty for 11th and 12th, won by Fong.
Thanks to our crack spotters again.
Yep. And there it is on. By the way, if you're watching, if you're near a computer or a phone even, you can watch online, matchracingresults.com. And Chris is showing us right now, Chris Bretschker, our producer-director, got the PIP, picture-in-picture up right now with the results for these other 5th through 12th. And now you can also be following the semifinals and the finals match by match almost immediately, thanks to our race committee and Becky Lenhart, our racing director in on shore normally at Balboa Yacht Club, who feed that information to matchracingresults.com. They cover not only this event, not only the Governor's Cup, but many, many other match racing events around the world. But at the top mark, Matt.
Morgan Pinkney leading in his must-win match from Justin Callahan. about a boat length lead here, assuming the sets are the same. So, Callahan in a good position to attack on this downwind. But Pinkney does have the lead. And
he as we've seen a lot of times, Callahan decided he wanted the right, and so he didn't. He was ahead. He did not cover his competition, and obviously Morgan worked some stuff out on the left. So that's a lead change there.
Let's go to Jeffrey and Marius. Jeffrey Peterson, Marius Vesterlund. How did Morgan get ahead? Lead change.
I think it looked like Morgan tacked onto the ley line and Justin passed ahead of him and tacked on the outside. So I think Justin made a bit of a mistake there, not covering the long leg going back to the mark. Or what do you see, Jeffrey? Did you see something different?
Yeah, I think off the line, both boats folded onto port tack, and Morgan just did a slightly better job of going straight and fast and managed to actually tack and cross Justin Callahan for the right. So Justin had to sail cross and then tack on the ley line behind him, but he's still very much in this race.
Without question.
Yeah, you can see both poles really forward, just trying to fight high. Just Pinkney trying to keep his wind clear. Callahan just trying to project down. I think Pinkney's clear right now, but he's right on the edge. Callahan gains any more forwards, and he's going to start seeing that kite on Pinkney start softening, start collapsing, and he's going to be able to reel that gap in quickly.
It's a bit of a problem for the boat behind here is the fact that Morgan can sail high makes it much less likely that the other boat will be able to roll him. The problem is that the other boat either goes high and doesn't gain any, or tries to go low and slow and loses more. So it's Morgan's doing a great job here.
So I like this from Morgan here, just leading the jibe back out, just saying, hey, I'm gonna have as much clear breeze coming down to these marks as possible. I'm gonna set up for how I want. I think Callahan here, probably thinking about setting up for a split. He might think that it looks like the right-hand turn mark, so the one on the right-hand side of your screen, is a little bit more biased. And it does look like there's good pressure coming down from the top left on the race course. So I would expect Pinkney to come over and cover this side and try and hold and try and get Callahan on the other tack. But Callahan here does have mark room if he can get it on this right-hand turn. So
I think in the last match, Josh and Cole, they did a similar split, and I think Cole went winning out of that split, taking the same mark as Justin did. So it'll be interesting to see how they come back together here on the first cross.
And in the other race, you can see on your screen the blue kite of Tapper coming downwind with a relatively comfortable lead coming into the finish here. So looking like Tapper's going to take that semi-final 3-1. And
I think Josh, yeah, you go.
Just Pinkney taking a little bit of dirt from both these boats on the downwind, so that's probably another little half a boat length loss. So Callahan just hopefully, from his point of view, able to gain a little bit there.
But Callahan tacking, meaning that he doesn't want to go any farther left. So I think that was a little bit of a concession there. We'll see. Do we have any update on the bot, on the weather and the angle at the weather mark?
Let's go to the finish if we can, because we've got a winner of a semifinal. Andrew, you predicted this 2 nights ago. You said that Cole Tapper and Hamish Vass and Jack Freewind were saving the best for last, and they've now won their semifinal 3-1 over Josh Hyde of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron. Cole Tapper, of course, the representative of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, was in the finals last year, and he is back in the finals again this year against one or the other of Pinkney or Callahan, who are still fighting it out in their semifinal.
Well, interestingly, guys, the wind has actually gone about 10 left, which is maybe why Tapper and the left-hand side work. So Justin Callahan is certainly hoping for that here.
And up on the course.
Up the course here, Andy, I was going to say we are seeing Justin Callahan make massive gains out here on the left-hand side. Since he's tacked around that bottom mark, he's been lifted about 15 degrees, and all of his crew are up on the rail hiking, and Morgan got caught in a little pocket of light air down on the right side. So a massive extension by Callahan and his team.
Well, Jeffrey, as you were saying earlier, that the overall tendency might be slightly right, but there will still be some lefties, and that was a big lefty.
Yeah, when we were getting ready to go for the next race of the semifinals, I told them that. I said, hey, this breeze tends to go right, but that doesn't mean there can't be lefties. So my biggest piece of advice was keep your eyes out of the boat and and play with what you got. Don't try to predict what cards are coming. Rather, take the information and make a good decision based on what you see on the water.
Boy, that was huge. He's got a lead of what, 7 boat lengths or 8 boat lengths?
The 4 of gauge, which is side to side, and maybe 4 bow forward. But Jeffrey's advice was obviously spot on. The late, great Buddy Melgus, whom you and I knew well, Andy, used to say, get your head out of your, and then he'd pause, and then he'd say cockpit. Get your head out of the cockpit and look uphill, look up the track, and you can judge, good sailors can judge by reading the surface of the water, both the wind strength and the wind direction, but particularly the strength. Sail, when in doubt, sail for the darker, ripply, puffier, breezier water.
Well, but there too, I mean, Justin's just sailing brilliantly. That was a short ley line, but still, you don't want to sail any extra distance on starboard tack, and he called a perfect ley line. His crew managed a perfect set, now going easily into a jibe just to stay in the middle of the course and protect himself. He's Justin Callahan's pretty magic, I'll tell you. So is Morgan, though. I mean, that's the thing. These are, as we said yesterday, these are 2 of the finest young sailors in the United States, period.
How about the collegiate rivalry here? You've got Harvard against Yale. You've got the College Sailor of the Year in Justin Callahan. And he's having a hell of a year. He just up in Long Beach. We know we have Lisa Meyer here, who's the Commodore of the Long Beach Yacht Club. She'll be at the prize giving tonight, along with Cam, who's going to give one of her flag officers. They're going to present the invitation to the Ficker Cup, the Ficker is Quicker Cup, as I call it, which is a qualification event for the granddaddy of them all, the Congressional Cup. And she is, I know, excited to see all of these young sailors who probably, not all, but most will end up one time or another either in the Ficker and or the Congressional Cup going forward.
Well, they already have. I mean,
Exactly.
Jeffrey Peters has sailed in both very well.
Cole
Tapper has. David Wood, some years ago, also Melbourne Yacht Club has. So, you know, we have a long and wonderful history with Long Beach Yacht Club, our partners in really match racing in California and in the world. Interestingly here, Tom, when I talked to Justin yesterday, he said, well, you know, I guess this maybe is my last match race for a while. Well, were he to win this, I think it wouldn't be his last match race for a while.
Absolutely, and I didn't finish that point about Long Beach. I got off on the tangent with Lisa Myers because I just love her to death. She's a breath of fresh air in that club. Terrific person like Claire Harrington, who's the Vice Commodore about to become Commodore of New York Yacht Club. But that is Team Callahan, or I should say Justin, sailed in Long Beach a couple weeks ago and won the first time in the 470 class. He won the gold medal in the pre-Olympic regatta, the so-called Olympic classes regatta at Long Beach. And I think he's now going to campaign, or seriously thinking, he says, about campaigning a 470 for the 2028 Olympics, which of course will be in, we hope, Long Beach, not San Pedro.
Well, that's another controversy. But yeah, I think he is going to do that, and you know, right out of the box to start sailing 470s by winning that regatta is incredible. And here he is. So Justin Callahan will be in the finals with Cole Tapper.
We have Dr. Don Becker on the radio. Go ahead, Don, media.
Start, and it'll be Pinkney versus Hyde in the first start. We're going to reorient the course a little bit here, give the sailors a few minutes to sort out, and then we're going to go into the final for the Governor's Cup.
Copy that. Dr. Don Becker, chairman of the principal race officers, the official title, chairman of the race committee, the esteemed Balboa Yacht Club race committee. Appreciate their service again. Don's been at this, we said, for decades, either as a member of the race committee or the chair, and he and his entire team of volunteers from the Balboa Yacht Club are once again knocking it out of the proverbial ballpark with a flawless performance here. In fact, yesterday at one point, Maddie and Andy and I were all saying, I don't know if I'd be starting this match. It's pretty light, and it might be getting lighter. Don went ahead and did that, and he was right. They got the matches in and got us back on shore in good order at the end of the day. Chris, shall we take a break? Chris Bretschker, our producer-director, is saying we should take a short break here. We have the time. How about a 10-minute break? We'll stay on the air here, so you don't have to lose the feed. Tom Eamon, along with Andy Rose, Matt Whitfield, Jeffrey Peterson, Marius Vesterland, and the rest of our Gov Cup TV production team will be back with the finals in about 10 minutes. Welcome back to Newport Beach, California for the 58th Annual Governor's Cup, the prestigious International Youth Match Racing Championship. We have reached the Petit Finale, which is the consolation of the runners-up bracket for the losers of the semifinals. And we have the finals coming on just 5 minutes after that. These are both head-to-head series, and this Petit Finale is first to win 2. And the finals is first to win 3. We have Hyde and Pinkney against each other in the Petit Finale. Let's go to Andy Rose for a quick outlook on who he thinks will win the Petit Finale. And maybe to you, Matt, as well, as we watch Hyde and Pinkney in the classic mid-starting line dial-up.
Well, Tom, as you know, normally I do make predictions, but I'll tell you, these teams are so close together that it's really tough. I guess I'd probably pick Morgan. I just think, I don't know, it's his home waters, and but Josh Hyde has done a terrific job. So I don't know. The question is, Morgan started like Sienna, actually a year later at Sienna. Morgan was 16 in his first Governor's Cup and got third. He's now had 2 thirds in 4 years. The question is, will he get a third?
What do you think, Matt?
I think Josh Hyde's been sailing really well these last couple of races. I know he lost them, but he was very much in contention with them. So I think Josh Hyde in this lighter condition with that one less crew member, probably I'd edge if it stays in these conditions. So
Yeah, I'm going to change my mind.
You are?
You convinced me. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
It's Josh.
And notwithstanding that Josh Hyde went through the round-robin phase and came out second, had a really good series.
Yep.
And Morgan almost got pipped there right at the end by Westerlund from Sweden. And he was 4th, so we shall see here as there's about, Matt, 2 minutes 15.
Looks like they're going to use us, the base media boat here, as we call a pick, sort of like in basketball. Nope, not quite. That happens more often when the boats are very close together, and Josh Hyde had room, plenty of room to jibe legally there. And by that I mean the boat doing the maneuver must complete that maneuver before the other boat needs to begin to alter course to avoid them. And he did that well.
Excuse me, Andy, Matt, let's go to our roving boat where we have Jeffrey Peterson and Marius Westerlund. Ask them for their views on who will win this Petit Finale. Jeffrey?
Yeah, well, you got Marius, but
Oh,
Marius is out here. I'm out here watching the race right now, and we can see Pinkney leading back. And Hyde here is trying to pressure Pinkney towards the line.
Who's going to win?
Yeah, I think I'll go with Hyde winning this one. Pinkney's already been 3rd a few times. Maybe it doesn't feel as exciting to be 3rd anymore, and Josh has never podiumed here before, I believe. Has he?
No, I believe you're right. Yep, he got 4th last year.
Yeah, so I think he's really feeling hungry for that podium spot. So I think he'll do a great race here.
And Jeffrey?
I'm gonna be the dark horse of the group, and I'm gonna go with Morgan. I think despite Morgan probably wishing he could go to the finals more often than he has or hasn't yet to go to, he's proven that he's able to bounce back and have superb performances in the Petit Finale. So despite the weight difference, it being light, I think Morgan has demonstrated his ability to win this 3rd place battle, and so I'm going to go with Morgan for this one.
So it's 3-2, Jeffrey. You and me are on one side, but as a senior commentator, I reserve the right to change my mind as soon as I see how it's going.
Matt Whitfield with a play-by-play.
So, yeah, I think basically they've moved the pin end a little bit lower, so a bit of starboard bias on this line here. So I think both boats fighting for this committee boat. Josh Hyde has done a real good job here, I think, at getting that. He was able to pin Pinkney in and then not allow Pinkney to accelerate, so Pinkney had to bail out. And in doing so has moved himself down the line. So I think slide advantage Hyde here, and looks like he's done a better job of just coming in with speed into this line.
Ooh.
Boy,
Well, he was almost over, wasn't he?
He was not over.
No problem, but it sure looked.
You notice both boats there. The wind is still, I hate to say it, spotty. At the weather mark, it's a little better. It's up to 7.3 knots at 3:24, 25. But you saw that, Tom, that they bounced a little bit there. And the boats, they're very light, but they have, like a modern boat, have a reasonable amount of wetted surface, meaning the hull under the water, which of course is drag, and you want lift rather than drag and speed. And it's tough, even in this little tiny light chop here. Really close, though. Look at this.
Yeah, I think good job Hyde there, just getting a little bit higher and faster than net VMG gain off that line there.
Okay, but that illustrates the point right there that I had made before. You almost have to tack, but the problem with the boat behind is you have to do 2 down speed tacks in a row, while the boat ahead can advance another 2 boat lengths, get speed, and you'll see the difference here.
Okay, let's go to the finals now. The first of possibly 5. It's first to win 3. Best of 5 series here as we have Tapper and Callahan, the winners of the semis, going at it now. And Matt, that was a little bit of, there's a protest flag or not?
It was quite a late turn by by Tapper there. Umpires deeming it a green flag. So I think Tapper had completed his tap before Callahan did have to alter, but
only just.
Very, very close. Definitely finding the limit there.
Yep.
So here Callahan, the yellow boat, the starboard entry in boat number 1, and Tapper in boat number 6, the port entry. So Callahan holding up here, just trying to, you see the crew work on this, trying to keep the boat into the wind, moving the jib left, right, because when they're down speed, the rudders don't work so much, so they need to get the, they need to have crew work to be able to turn the boat. So you see them, and then really pump the boat as much as they can to try and build speed when they're down.
Yeah, in fact, you know, what you're saying, Matt, is basically that you have to use the sails to turn the boat because your rudder is no longer effective at that point.
Okay, gents, now we have to do the same in this final. First to win 3. What's your pick, Andrew?
Oh, I think, oh God, I honestly don't know. This is a first for me. I honestly don't know. I think they're so evenly matched. Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I would agree with Andy. I don't know, but you know, I'm going to say an opinion unlike Andy. I think Tapper edges it. He's already won the Governor's Cup before. You know, Cole is a guy who performs on the day, and I think today he's won 2 races out of 2. I know Callahan's done the same, but I just think Cole will come through over the course of 5. He'll win more than he loses.
Okay. All right, and again, Tom, I agree with Matty. I've changed my mind.
You didn't take it, but you didn't
I
take
agree
one.
I agree with Matty unless it's proven wrong later.
Okay, I'm going with Callahan. I think he came out of the rounds robin on top.
Ooh, look at this! Look at this!
I think that's a windward leeward there.
Oh, I do.
Tapper the windward boat there, both on starboard.
You think Tapper's going to get a penalty?
Green flag.
Green flag.
I'm going with Callahan. He came out of the rounds robin on top. Had looked for a while like he was going to win every match in the double round robin. So I'll go with Callahan. Do we have Jeffrey? Let's go to Jeffrey and Marius. Gents, pick your winner, please.
Well, as much as I love Cole, Jack, and Hamish, and I know they're great sailors, I'm going with Callahan and his team. They've been sailing so well in this light air condition. Fine form right now.
Yeah, well, I've heard that Callahan has quite a good coach, and yeah, we'll see if Cole can overcome that. But I was going with Cole up until I saw that pre-start maneuver there, where it was a green flag, but it looked like they might be a bit shaky pulling off maneuvers like that. Not an optimal maneuver from Cole, so I'll be rooting for Cole, but I think Callahan will win.
That's a really good point, Marius.
By the way, Hyde is leading in that first Petit Final, that match that's already up the track. 30 seconds, Matt.
Tapper tight to leeward. Callahan overlapped right below this committee boat here. That shot is from the back of the committee boat there, so you know that's how close they are. Callahan kind of pinched in. He's not going to be able to build this if he can even get in. I think real advantage Cole here right now.
Boy, I do too. Line's a bit shorter than it's been too. Not that it will matter in this start, but yeah, if you can put somebody right up against the committee boat, they have very few options.
Callahan's fighting for the right.
Yep.
However, you know, really good boat work on Callahan there. Just like he had no room to accelerate. You saw that crew work go down and up just to build that speed. He did as good as he could there.
That was brilliant. That was amazing. He should be, I would think, a boat length farther behind without that. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah, and I think,
gentlemen, I'd have to agree with you there. That was an impressive maneuver in very little space to build on someone's hip and manage to get out and get clean, and now he's got leverage out to that right side.
Yep.
Impressive boat handling from Callahan's team. I wonder who taught him that.
Well, as Mario said, he must have had a good coach. We can't remember who that is though, but
No, it might have been me. I don't know.
Marius is here coaching. He's been coaching his brother, who finished 5th and sixth. Oh yes, indeed. Michael Kirkman beat him in that playoff. But the coach for Callahan is Jeffrey Peterson.
I know, Tom. You know, I talked to. They sailed. Justin sailed in the Worlds last year in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and he said, you know, it was really, we were talking about Jeffrey as his coach. He said it was so cool to have a coach of, you know, very similar age who's been through the same things I have to do that. And so, you know, I think Jeffrey knows, but Justin couldn't speak more highly about Jeffrey as a coach.
Well, and
We've
Jeffrey,
just now seen how Cole was squeezed off here by Callahan. So Callahan is taking control of the right-hand side, and Cole had to tack back out to the left. So interesting developments out here.
Okay, and here goes Justin tacking back. So, well, now it's sort of a typical match race, and they're sailing far enough to get up speed, enough to speed to make a good tack, and then they're tacking. So it's pretty classic tacking duel right now. But boy, the boats are. This is the kind of racing we would expect in a final.
breeze has indeed gone to the right a click, and it's up to 7.3 knots.
We've just
got a change mark from the race committee. Code flag C, Charlie there with the horns indicating they're going to the change mark, the yellow mark, not the orange default mark.
So that is only for the Petit Finale. That's not affecting this final. So that's the Hyde Pinkney matches. But I would expect to see the same when these guys get to the bottom, having that signal change.
I think that was a bit of an interesting move by Tapper and team there to tack so short on the hip. I think Justin's a little shy of the ley line here, and Cole didn't go very far and is now looking at Justin's sail there. Looks like they're getting a little bit of left-hand phase, which is going to be even more punishing for Tapper and his team as they sail out to this ley line in Justin's gas.
But then I think Jeffrey, you know, if they can live there, though, that means that Callahan does have to come across on port, and then Tapper is able to get in with starboard rights or maybe even mark room at the top. If he can live there, that's the big question mark.
Yeah, well, the boats are definitely not overlapped right now, and I think Justin's laying the zone. So I think the mark room will be entitled to Callahan and his team, and Tapper will need to make sure they give the adequate room for Callahan and team to get around the mark.
Yeah, Jeffrey, we see it from the drone position. It looked like they just got a slight righty.
Yeah, they're starting to lift now, so it'll be interesting to see. I still think that starboard jibe is the long jibe downwind right now. So it'll be interesting to see whether Callahan and team go for a jibe set or go for a straight set here.
What would you do?
I think it's, I generally, in my mind, I'd like to go straight for a little bit and then jibe maybe when Tapper and his team hit the mark, but not a particularly good rounding by Callahan and team there. A little slow with the jib.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jeffrey. I think in the light, especially in a breeze, no worries. But in the light, I think you do want to, you know, sail 4 or 5 boat lengths and then jibe. And obviously, you know, he's being followed in the same jibe, which is great. So now they have time. They can just watch the other boat and try to stay in the middle of the course.
But a real great set there from Tapper, you know,
Yep.
just gaining that half boat length just to help him attack when they probably go for the Simo jibe here. Maybe he'll be able to get on top.
Yeah, I think we will see how both people really try to sail low here, so that Callahan can defend the jibe, and Tapper being able to attack. It looks like Callahan is doing a decent job at staying low here. Or what do you think?
He is,
Jeffrey.
He is. I'm a little bit amazed that he went down like that, but he's managed to keep his speed.
Yeah, we'll see how the upwind boats play into this as well. Maybe one of them will be more affected by these. By the Petit Finale, and maybe Tapper will lose slightly more wind in the spinnaker here from Josh, so maybe that would be an opportunity for Callahan to jibe, but no, both look very loud.
Callahan had to make a fairly big duck there to get behind that other boat, which was on the wind and had right away, so he lost a little bit there. Still doing a great job. Both crews are just...
Here's the course, just for those of you who may be joining us. It's a 4-leg windward leeward up to the top mark, down through the gate, back upwind to the top mark, and then finish at the start-finish line.
I think that since both boats have jibed here, I think I might have misspoke around the top mark. It seems like you, Andy, you mentioned it, a little bit of a right-hand turn of the breeze as we left that windward mark now. So.
Yep. Boy, look at this.
So here watching, see if Callahan's kite starts getting wobbly, that means he's being affected. The longer he can hold on here, the better it gets for him now.
Yeah, these you can see in our chart on the upper right corner there that the light gray are the wind shadows that a boat throws, meaning blocks the wind to a certain extent from the boat farther away from the wind. But he needs to be a little farther forward. Oh, look at that. Look at that. He's rolling him.
Yeah. I think with this right shift coming in, probably should be biased on the left-hand gate marks. I think as long as Callahan can lead the jibe from here and make sure they get room on the left mark, I think they should still be quite happy in this position. You can see Tapper going into the jibe now.
Yeah, I think that's why Tapper's jibing early, so as he can come up above, he can luff Callahan above the zone and maybe be able to hold out.
He's about to be rolled.
2 lead changes.
Wow, 2 late changes in what, 30 seconds? Well, this is the kind of racing we were expecting and hoping for. This is amazing.
It'll be interesting to see whether Cole chooses to follow or split. I feel like there's been quite a big shift, so maybe they're giving away a lot of distance here, picking the other mark. We'll see how it, yeah, looks like they'll just go behind and maybe into an early tack. What do you think, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think you have to follow here. It's such a big shift, and it would have been a long, punishing sail on starboard to make the right-hand turn there. Looks like Cole did manage to get a little bit of overlap, but not going to be able to hold.
And there he goes. Okay, now as you see, and we were talking about this, he's going to sail another 2 or 3 boat lengths, hopefully not more than that. But the boat ahead has the advantage because it can sail, get up to speed, and therefore make a much better tack. But he's going quite a ways.
Yeah, I think Justin and his team they've got a bit of an issue down in the middle of the boat with their main sheet, so they haven't been able to tack actually yet.
Oh, really?
Looks like now it's sorted. And to my eye, I'm seeing headers in his jib right now.
Yeah, they're looking quite powered up. Be interesting to see here when they tack how it's going, how the cross will be against Cole. They're now going towards the yellow mark, so upwind is still quite square, and Cole's going for quite a big split. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it really is.
Quite a lot of holes on this beat here, so picking through these holes is going to be really important. Tapper just got a little bit of a left-hand shift there and went for his tack over. He's going to be hoping that he can get a band of pressure across, and Callahan can't quite come back with much.
So just to make that clear, you see there a left-hand shift will allow the boat to aim more towards the left side of your screen and thus sail less distance, and the obverse is true. So the boat at the top will have to sail closer to the middle of your screen and lose some distance, but this can be really close, I think.
Here is a development in the Petit Final that coming into the finish, the yellow boat did not round the yellow mark the second time around, I'm hearing from the race committee. So Josh Hyde, who's coming in well ahead of Morgan Pinkney into the finish, and you would think is going to win this Petit Final match 1, but apparently he did not sail the course properly.
Yeah, I've done that exact mistake against Morgan out here, actually. It's always you're dropping the kite and things are happening, and all of a sudden you see the boat behind you go around the other mark on the second upwind. It's not necessarily a nice feeling that Josh is feeling at this moment, probably.
We'll see if the blue flag goes up for Morgan Pinkney when he crosses the line. In second, ostensibly.
Looks like big gain to Callahan up here now compared to Cole. Cole was forced to tack to leeward here. Looks like they've extended quite a bit.
And are we seeing the flag on the committee boat there?
Not quite yet.
Oh yeah, almost.
Yes, indeed, the blue flag on the bow of the committee boat indicating that Morgan Pinkney, though finishing second, apparently Josh Hyde did not sail the proper course as indicated by the race committee when they shifted to the alternate yellow top mark. And the Petit Final, I should say, Pinkney now leading Josh Hyde 1-0. Let's go back now to the final match up at the top mark the second time.
Well, sounds like Andy's going to change his pick again in the Petit Final there. No, yeah, Hyde, Justin and his team doing a really nice job of picking up on the right-hand shift there with race committee signaling the match ahead of them to the yellow mark. Very smart decision to kind of extend out off of Cole's hip. I'm not sure I agree with as big of a split as he took, but well, he's got a bigger lead than he did before, so he must be doing something right.
Yep. Yeah, I agree
Now,
with you,
interestingly
Jeffrey.
enough, the jibe set is a bit of an interesting call. It does look like the starboard run is, a little bit more straight down the course, but with a big right shift like that, it may be a little risky to lead the jibe there.
And I also think the set won't be quite as good as if you go straight, so maybe you're just giving back a few boat lengths to Tapper here, and maybe Tapper could jibe back quite soon and be able to attack Callahan on the way back to the line.
Well, but Marius, having said that, that was a virtually perfect jibe set.
Yeah, well, they have a good coach.
He doesn't know anything about how to do a jibe set. He's a monkey.
Andy, you forget that I did my first Governor's Cup on the pointy end.
Well, that's true. That's true. You had about as much success as James Spithill did when his first Governor's Cup on the pointy end.
Hey, we stood on I got a third place finish that year, so.
Okay, you guys, settle down. Justin Callahan leading with Oliver Lloyd, Harrison Strom ahead of Cole Tapper, Jack Freeman, and Hamish Vass as they come down the fourth and final leg of this first match of the final. Callahan in the lead and comfortably.
Just a little bit of an observation here. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing in the booth, but to me it looks like Tapper is just a little lower and a little faster here. Justin looks like he's starting to sail out of a little bit of breeze.
Yeah, it looks like Callahan's pole is a little bit more forwards. He's not quite driving the boat, and he's just getting off to that left-hand side. Tapper coming down, and if Tapper can get in, he will have starboard rights when Callahan crosses. If he can just get close to him.
Well, I think Jeffrey and I, you and I agreed on that. I wouldn't have split that far. I mean, you've got a nice lead. Just protect it.
I think Justin will probably start getting a bit stressed here looking at Cole, I think. And sure, it's not a super long leg left to the finish, but I think that Cole will be able to put a jibe onto Callahan here. What do you think, Jeffrey, maybe?
He's definitely within range to plant one, but let's see if he can actually plant one and get the roll off before the finish. Both boats, down at the bottom third of the run here, but it's risky.
Boy, they've caught up hugely, as you guys pointed out. Again, leaving that far the other boat to the other side of the course in spotty conditions like this, I don't quite understand.
I don't know if Cole planted the jibe as accurately as he might have liked. Justin looking like he's going to be able to live here. He's just got to hold off long enough to roll into a starboard jibe at the committee boat. Committee boat end definitely is closer, so.
Well, Callahan matching here, though, might be quite a dangerous move. If they get rolled here, or maybe Tapper can jibe back and get the committee end. We'll see.
Yeah, Tapper with a slightly better jibe there, a little bit more hull speed through the water. It looks like he's able to be affecting Callahan
look at this.
here.
Hope our race committee cam is on there. Look at this.
So remember, they do have to jibe back to the finish here.
They'll both have to jibe.
I think Callahan maybe rushing that jibe a little bit. He could have been a little bit more patient. It didn't look like Cole was extending as much. Now it's going to be a drag race. Who had the better jibe? This is going to be a photo finish.
Two great jibes, though.
Tapper leading slightly, but Callahan with slightly clearer breeze at the moment.
Yep, Tapper's going to win this by just a bit.
Blue flag on the committee boat. That's Cole Tapper and his team win the first race of the Governor's Cup final.
Wow.
Yeah, I think maybe it was a bit of a mistake. Sure, might have been a mistake there at the top jibe setting, but I think crucially down here when we came to the gate, I think when Cole jibed back going towards the pin, I think Callahan could have maybe extended and just went for the finish at the committee end where we thought there might be a slight bias.
Yeah,
I
very
think
easy from the coach boat.
I didn't mind the jibe set as long as you jibe back onto port once the other boat rounds the weather mark. So you just stay in the middle of the course. But he kept going, and I think that's just dangerous to split that far. A little bit of, the conditions are better now than they were an hour ago, but it's still a little spotty.
Yeah, well, Commodores, ladies and gentlemen, you've you're getting your money's worth with this racing. Andy, we keep talking about the America's Cup and even Sail GP. Thank God the commentators are not screaming. What a calm finish, a calm commentary for an exciting, terribly exciting finish. Tom Spithill checking in. He's saying from Australia, presumably. Morning, gents. Hope you are staying hydrated, Andy. Enjoying the broadcast. And Peter McDonald is watching. Denise Peterson, Jeffrey's mother. Rebecca Vass is watching. Go Cole Hamish, Hamish and Jack. Larry Kennedy, of course, the father of one of our Gov Cup TV stalwarts. But we've just seen the old farts at age 22. Cole Tapper, Jack Freeman, and Hamish Vass win this first match over Justin Callahan, Oliver Lloyd, and Harrison Strom.
Old age and treachery, Tom.
Exactly, Andrew.
Old age and treachery.
The old guy's a year older, right?
Well, no, actually. It's just that Cole and Hamish and Jack have a lot more experience. One thing, we talked about earlier in the week.
That's right. They're the same age, 22, aren't they?
Yeah. What we talked about earlier in the week is Justin said, I've never had the same crew in a consecutive match race. And, the Cole's crew is so experienced. And so something like that, Matt, at the end, when you've got to be just perfect, they were.
Yeah, like, in my match racing, if I've got the crew I know on board, I can go, hey, remember this? That's the move we're doing. So, you've already done it before as a group, so you know exactly where someone's going to do something, what the thinking is, as opposed to just like that little bit of, they're all great sailors, they all know what's going to happen, but everyone has slight idiosyncrasies. So I think very, very key in those high-pressure situations.
No, without question. Anyway, what a race, guys. A barn burner, Tom?
Well, if you're from Michigan.
If you're from Michigan, it's a
barn burner.
Explain the derivation of barn burner.
Oh, it's not correct. It's Croutonic. But suffice to say, if it's really a close match, some parts of this country we call it a barn burner. What would you call it in the UK, Matty?
A stormer.
A stormer.
Stormer.
A stormer.
Or a barn stormer.
A barn stormer, not a barn burner. Regardless, we have a petit finale for determination of third and fourth place. Morgan Pinkney now leading 1-0 over Josh Hyde, as you can see there in the graphic. The petit finale comes from the French, obviously, meaning consolation match, but in match racing we use the French petit finale. And then in the final, Cole Tapper leading after that fabulous finish. What, 2 or 3 or 4 lead changes in that race? I've lost count. Cole Tapper ahead of Justin Callahan, 1-0 in the first to win 3 best-of-5 match series here at the 58th Governor's Cup on the school course. They call it that because the Newport Beach Elementary School is right behind us here to the north, just alongside the beach, on the beach really, between the Newport Pier and the Balboa Pier. And is it true, Andy, that kids that, I know you grew up in Texas, but the kids that go to school here on recess or on their lunch break, do they come down and go surfing if the surf is up?
I don't know, but it's the most spectacular location for an elementary school ever.
We're about ready to go now for the next match, which will be the second petit finale between Pinkney and Hyde. And, of course, Hyde crossed the finish line first, but he did not received the yellow flag because his color flag was yellow, and we're watching on the bow of the committee boat. They display either a yellow or blue flag when the winner crosses the line. And I heard on the radio, as you heard me mention here on the commentary, that we'd heard from the umpires saying that the Hyde team had not rounded the proper windward mark. There are 2 marks up there, an orange one, which is the default mark, as Jeffrey calls it, and then a yellow one, which was set to the right and it's still there, as an alternative if the wind continues to shift to the right. The race committee clearly signals down here at the gate, in fact, pre-start sometimes, which mark the pair is to sail to, with a code flag C, Charlie, and some horns, and then indicating yellow or orange. And in that case, apparently, Josh Hyde's team went to the wrong windward mark. But it's nonetheless, he's still in it. It's first to win 2 in the petit finale. And Matt, We've got the 5-minute signal, soon to be the entry at 4 minutes.
Yep, so we got Pinkney as the yellow boat in boat 12, and Hyde in as the port entry boat, which is boat 4. So they're switched ends here. Pinkney on match point. If he wins this race, he gets another third.
I guess that's not funny. I don't know why I laugh.
No, it's great. It's a great record. Tom, I just would say one thing that I doubt it's the case here, but when that kind of thing happens, fairly often there'll be a request for redress that the team will say we weren't properly notified of the change of marks. This may end up just a, oops, we just blew it. But a lot of times you'll see that, and I don't know if that's happening here, but it as you say, it's pretty obvious signal. It's many horn, toots of the horn, and the flags. So a little hard to miss.
Well, it may have already happened. That is a request for redress, and the umpires would have sorted it out right here on the water.
Yep.
Thanks to this modern umpiring system that started at Lisa Meyer's Long Beach Yacht Club in 1988.
Yeah, and there was some guy that was involved with that. I forget who he is.
He's some crouton from
He's
Michigan.
a crouton sitting next to me from Michigan. But anyway, well done, Tom. I did most of my match racing back when we had to go to the protest room afterwards.
So 3:30 to go, dialed up as usual. I think we've only seen one non-dial up in this, which shows that the teams are coming in on time, and the Don Becker is laying a square start line, so no one's able to break the dial up, avoid having dial up. So, you know, it's a good sign of a good course and good sailors if you're having dial ups. And Pinkney on starboard to windward and just trying to tack out here, and Hyde trying to see all that crew weight to try and spin the boat and exit to leeward. Pinkney going over the top. So one thing that can be a bit more useful when you're super down speed, you can manipulate the boat a little bit more with that extra bit of crew weight. You just get that little bit more body weight to help the boat turn. So sometimes, so that might help Pinkney when they're down speed in these situations.
Well, Morgan actually mentioned that to me yesterday or the day before, that he said in those maneuvers, because remember I pointed out that he was coming out of those maneuvers faster than anyone, and he said it was, a lot because of that. He says, I have a full crew. And we use ourselves.
However, as we saw in that last race, Callahan using his body weight perfectly off that start to do it. So it's not essential, but it can be useful.
That was one of the and I know Jeffrey agreed. Coming off that start, Callahan did just a remarkable job of going from after a downspeed tack, getting immediately right back up to speed. It was amazing.
Yeah, that shows why he's in the finals of the Governor's Cup and won the round robin.
Exactly.
Just off our port side, while you were talking about that other match, in fact, that same I got Tapper here, just took off his big sun hat, and he took his water bottle and did the whole pour of the water bottle over his head. Explain that, Andy.
Well, he had told me a couple of days ago, we actually were on air with some of this, that back in the day, he sailed with a guy that they had the morning races. They were in Sydney and was missing every shift, and just it was awful. And so the guy just called City. We were sitting there, and the skipper just went over and put his head into the water, and then shook it, and he came up and caught every shift the rest of the afternoon. So Cole said, we sort of adopted that, but I love it when he said last year when he was behind Jeffrey 0-2, he said He said, first of all, I had to go over to Jordan Reese, my coach, and I said, okay, tell me how bad I am. And Jordan was quite happy to oblige. Then they all did the head dip and ended up winning 3-2.
45 seconds to go, Pinkney to leeward. I think a nice position here. He's able to control the acceleration. Hyde kind of stuck in here with this light pressure. It's hard for him to get going with the dirt of the committee boat and the dirty win from Pinkney. Well, Pinkney, if he can get this hook here.
Whoa! I think that was a collision, was it not?
There is still a collision. So that would be Hyde windward boat, and Pinkney is the leeward boat, but is right of way, so cannot alter. So umpires have done a blue flag there, so that's a penalty Hyde. If Hyde came out ahead of this, there might be a red flag penalty, which would mean Hyde gained as a result of it. But I think Pinkney's going to do a good job of this anyway.
Yeah.
But, the umpires can say, no, you gained from that, you can get a penalty, which I think is not going to be the case here. Little mistake from Hyde there.
Little?
And Hyde doing his obligatory tack at go.
Matt, it's a big mistake. He hit one of my boats.
Okay, and Matt, explain now the penalty situation. How do you absolve yourself?
So to absolve, you can either do an offsetting penalty. So if he manages to get Pinkney to commit a foul, they will net out to 0 penalties. Or he can do a jibe on the upwind leg or a tack on the downwind leg. So a 270-degree turn through the wrong way for that leg. So Hyde here needs to get ahead first and then think about what he's going to do from that. So Hyde here just still sailing in a fleet race, trying to overtake the boat.
And you have to take that penalty, obviously, before the finish. And oftentimes it happens right at the finish. Why?
So if you do it at the finish, you don't have to rehoist the spinnaker. So you're able to drift across the line and not lose out again with that speed build with a spinnaker. So it's pretty hard. You lose a little bit more by doing it at the finish, but you get more time to extend out, and you get to figure out whether you can do that.
And now to match 2 of the finals, with Tapper leading 1-0 over Callahan, and they are in the pre-start, the final 4 minutes, in fact 3 minutes 35 seconds.
Callahan yellow entry here in boat, blue entry in boat 1, Tapper in boat 6, so they haven't swapped their boats. They're both happy with the boats they've got for this final series. After every odd match, so after the first and the third match, you have the option to change boats, but now they haven't, they can't change boats for the rest of this series. Jeffrey, Marius, what do you think looking up the race course? Is there any particular side you'd favor? Still looks pretty spotty.
Yeah, it's pretty patchy. To me, it looks like the best pressure is right in the middle of the course. But from my eye, and I'll take Marius's opinion on this in a second, it looks to be like the angle's favoring starboard tack. So I'd say we're in a bit of a right phase, but definitely patchy. I think the preference is to stay where the darker breeze is more than the angle.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I also agree that we have a slight right face. I thought we saw that out of the last start, that we had a bit of boat bias. I'm not sure if we still have a bit of bias at the boat, but I think when it's this patchy, it's important as the lead boat to stay close and not give that boat an opportunity on these upwinds.
Just for non-sailors, to clarify, when any of us says pressure, we're talking about wind strength. As simple as that. It's sailor term, it's yacht racing term for pressure, meaning wind strength that we can sometimes often see on the surface of the water.
So here, Callahan trying to get clear enough head to do a jibe. So if he's in the process of jibing, and Tapper would have to avoid, he's the giveaway boat. So Callahan trying to extend out here. Looks like he's maybe on the edge of being able to get this jibe. So
I think that was right in time to get that jibe, because we're starting to approach the start and wanting to lead back. So I think it was good that they managed to get that in there.
And looks like Tapper, when he jibed, caught a little bit of a wave and just kind of slowed up, which allowed Callahan to roll around. Good boat handling by Callahan there.
We can see here, what do we have? 1 minute, 15 seconds left to the start. Tapper tacking into a pushing position, so we'll try and push Callahan down the line. I think we still have a little bit of a boat bias, so I think both boats will want to be fighting for this right-hand side. So interesting to see how that plays out.
So with less than a minute to go, they're both probably able to enter this committee boat here. So Tapper's done a good job of flushing Callahan down the line here.
Yeah, I think Callahan will want to try to push Tapper up head to wind quite early here, so that Tapper doesn't have too much of a runway to start on the right-hand side. I think here Tapper has enough to be able to accelerate and go to the right-hand side. Yeah, interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, both boats still early.
Yeah, Tapper just trying to get as high as possible, so when he does peel onto port, as he's doing now, he is able to get over the committee boat. Because if he can't tack over the committee boat, he's going to have to do a downspeed tack here.
And I predict he will not be able to. And there's his tack.
Slight advantage Callahan there, just being able to not having to do 2 tacks in that acceleration. but you know, here Tapper does have the right-hand side, which if pressure comes down the right, Tapper in a good position to gain.
Yeah, he did a great job there. What he just told his crew, you know, we're going to accelerate and tack the absolute last minute because we've improved our speed over these last 2 boat lengths.
And in the Petit Finale, Pinkney leading around the top mark with their spinnakers up.
I think it looks like Justin is ahead here, and I think he's climbing up on Tapper. It looks like Justin could almost tack and be ahead here. What do you think? What do you think, Jeffrey?
Well, we'll find out right now. And if Cole's tacking right away, that kind of indicates to me that he didn't think he has it. So he's going to keep his leverage out to that right-hand side to see if he can't find a favorable shift to then bring back towards Callahan.
Looks like Callahan's a little bit more lifted right now. Looks like he's 10 degrees higher on port tack.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we got a left shift there during the last few minutes in the pre-start. I think we had a bias at the pin, and it was really good of Callahan those last 20 seconds of the start to really just focus on his acceleration and timing the pin and on the line that was favored. And we can see how much of an advantage they got by doing that in those last 20 seconds. And I think they're leading this race quite clearly right now. And I think Tapper's just going to want to close the gap up as much as he possibly can before the upwind mark and the downwind.
Andy, when any of us, including and especially Marius, uses the word bias on the starting line, what does that mean?
There are 2 ends of the starting line. One of them will be closer to the windward mark than the other one. And that basically is the gist of it, that you obviously want to sail the shortest course possible. So as the wind shifts, it's very hard to get the line exactly right in a shifting wind. Dr. Don Becker has done a great job here, but at any rate, it can shift during a start too.
You can see that Callahan's got a little bit more pressure now. You see his crew weight's gone up onto the side, and it's just a little bit further out than Tapper is.
Yeah, it seems to be like the boats have managed to step into different breezes. So what I mean by that is Justin Callahan and Cole Tapper, while they are relatively close, they are managing to experience different velocities and angles in the breeze. That's how patchy it is out here. I'm looking over to Cole, and he keeps getting headers, and they're still sitting a little further in the boat. Meanwhile, Justin and his team really bow up and full pressure here. So
I think they got a little righty there. Looks like Justin is more bowed down than he was. So that obviously is what Cole is hoping for, to get a right shift, and here comes Cole. So let's see, I think Justin's still ahead, but
by heaps.
Yeah, I think Justin's getting a bit of deja vu back to the Pinkney match where he split out left and then got this nice pressure with a nice lift. Looks like he's leading quite comfortably here.
Yep.
If Justin can put a slam dunk here maybe on Tapper and extends just a little bit more, I think he'll really put the nail in the coffin and make Tapper too far behind to even be able to attack on the downwind. So I think if Callahan can just extend a little bit more, he'll be feeling really, really confident going into this downwind. Or he should already now be feeling quite confident, I think.
yes.
Shall we come back and look at the Petit Finale? They're going through the gate, surrounding the downwind right end, upwind left end. Quite a close match, but remember that Josh Hyde, trailing, still owes a penalty.
Yeah, Hyde having to do a big maneuver there to coming round the mark and tacking straight away. You know, maybe if he thought he was up to speed, that's a good move just to be able to get out and get the other side. But you know, if he was down speed in that tack, it's tough for him to try and do as good a tack as he could do. And maybe Pinkney thinks he sees something out on this left.
Well, maybe Pinkney's trying to do what Callahan did to him, just get that nice left-hand shift and hope that he'll go past,
Yeah,
or extend.
Callahan at the top here doing a great job of extending. Maybe even 6, 7, 8 boat lengths ahead. You know, real good job here of just getting out and breaking that gap. So Tapper probably won't be able to throw any dirty wind down on him. But as we saw on the last downwind, if Tapper gets a split, he's fast and he can come back in.
Again, what I said in the last race, I believe the race before, Justin again calling a perfect ley line there, not sailing even a couple feet extra, sailing the shortest distance to the weather mark, and then his crew work has just been pretty much flawless, and he's fast. You know, he wouldn't have won the round robin, the 2 rounds robin, without being fast. And once you get a lead like that, they're just focusing on, let's just sail fast. We're fine. You know, we don't have to worry a lot about the other boat.
I like what Callahan did there. He set, sailed for a little bit, got himself situated, and then rolled into the jibe, which puts Cole in a really awkward position. Either has to match that where he'll have no chance, or force them to do a jibe set, which is a more difficult maneuver. And Tapper and his team, very talented individuals, but pulling off a jibe set in 3 knots of breeze is really difficult, and I think Callahan gained a little bit more out of that. I really think that was a smart play, as the long jibe is starboard into the gates.
Yeah, it looks like Callahan's almost even reaching the gate from here, or maybe he has just a really short stint on port before making it into the gate. So Cole won't really have any chance to be attacking him on this downwind.
If you're just joining us, this is the finals of the 58th Governor's Cup, at least on the screen. We also have the petit finale, the consolation match for 3rd and 4th we'll get to in a moment. But we're concentrating, obviously, on this match between Cole Tapper from Australia and Justin Callahan from the U.S. Tapper leads 1-0 in this first to win 3 series, but it looks like Callahan's going to notch a victory here and even it up at 1-1. In this lightish condition, but not atypical, Andy, for Newport Beach, California, this time of year.
Nope, not atypical. But the boats are having great races, and you know, we're happy to be here. I think they're happy to be here.
Well, I certainly am.
Yeah.
Shall we go have a look at the petit finale?
You got Pinkney leading up to this top mark here. Pinkney coming in, he's maybe 5 boat lengths ahead.
And they're signaling another change of course. You may have been able to hear some of that.
To the final will be sent to the yellow top mark, which is to the left of the red mark, reflecting that left-hand shift.
I think it'll be difficult for Josh to be able to make a pass on this downwind if Morgan makes an early jibe, as it's really, really long starboard like we were talking about in that first match. And we can see Morgan here jibing before even Josh makes it around the mark. So going to be very difficult for Josh here to manage to come back.
Yeah, if you're the boat behind, you want to jibe as many times as possible, as long as the other boat does. If you're the boat ahead, you want to avoid jibing as much as possible.
But Josh and his team doing a real good jibe set there, and they're not far from being on Morgan Pinkney's breeze. Like, you know, doing exactly what they can do.
Yeah, since it's this close, I feel like Morgan maybe waited slightly too long before going into his jibe. If he just went slightly earlier, Josh wouldn't have had the time to jibe set and threaten Morgan in the way that he's doing now. Or what do you think back there in the studio?
Yeah, you can really see Pinkney's having to come up to Josh Hyde's line just to try and keep his breeze clear. You know, giving away a bit of that separation, but you know, I think Pinkney's still breathing out front on the long jibe, which is still a pretty powerful position to be in, but he's definitely had to give up his lead to achieve that.
Pinkney leading this series 1-0 and the first to win 2 over Josh Hyde. Morgan Pinkney has finished 3rd twice before, and of course Josh Hyde owes a penalty, and the chances of him getting a penalty, getting ahead, and then taking the penalty and still finishing ahead of Morgan Pinkney is looking pretty remote, Andrew, short of, as we always say, the rig coming down or a sea monster appearing.
Yep. Yeah, it is looking, but you know, Josh has done a good job here. You know, he's fast and confident and has another year.
But all it needs is, you know, 2 good jibes on Josh's boat, bad jibe on Pinkney's boat, and Hyde can get in and get the overlap, and then he can dictate to Pinkney offsetting this penalty.
Very close. Nice little breeze now they're getting. Little filled in.
So here Pinkney leading to it, so he's got to finish between the committee boat and the yellow mark of the start-finish line. So just a little jibe in at the finish here. As Hyde goes for a jibe, Pinkney's got to go. Does he want to jibe early or late? I think extending out, keep clear breeze, and then come back in on this ley line or just before the ley line for this pin end is a smart move here.
Yeah,
So that is the biased end.
He has a really nice buff there. So he extended about 3 boat lengths more, and I think I agree with you, Matt. I think that was a very good move. But we shall see.
yeah, not a lot Hyde can do here with Pinkney just entering the zone in the next couple of seconds. Not really any chips left for Josh Hyde to play. Morgan Pinkney coming across the finish line
for his third.
It's a good job we don't have an Irish commentator.
What about a Welsh commentator?
We don't have Irish accents.
And Morgan Pinkney takes his third in his Gov Cup history. Morgan Pinkney's crew, superb cross-harbor rivals at the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, cross-harbor rivals of the host Balboa Yacht Club. Morgan Pinkney and the rest of his team, and they're the only team sailing 4 up. Morgan, Cam Spriggs, Kelly Holtis, and Alice Schmidt. Bravo Zulu to them. Congratulations on a 3rd place finish. And let's go back up now to the top of this race course and follow the finals.
So here Callahan, you know, big lead, but his spinnaker is caught in the hank, so he's got to get that out to get it all the way up, which he just has done now, just as it comes onto the screen. But, you know, like here, he's got a good lead here. You know, Tapper having to try and do a jibe set here just to try and catch up, but not quite perfect. Bit of a wine glass here.
Bit. That is a Fuster Cluck, the first one we've seen here today, of magnificent proportions. Now they've got it sorted out.
Looking good for Callahan here, but this breeze is very light here. You know, if Tapper can pick up a little zephyr, a line of pressure down, he could come back in, but he's really looking for something crazy here.
Yeah, it would have to be pretty crazy. So this is something I was talking about earlier. You can see the difference in direction of the 2 boats. Callahan on your left is sailing much higher, which of course means he's getting closer to the other boat. And you would think, well, why would I ever do that? Because by doing so, he can keep his wind clear, and he won't win by quite as much, but he will win for sure. And that's the difference.
And stay between his opponent
and the mark, yes.
and the finish line.
Exactly.
In this case.
Especially in the spotty breeze. That's why I was saying that the boats that would really sail away from each other, I didn't quite understand that in this kind of breeze.
Let's go out to Jeffrey and Marius, a little analysis as they come down the track to the finish on this match, and also now if anybody wants to change their views of who's going to win this.
Well, I'm not going to change my view, unlike maybe some other commentators on the show. I'm going to stick to my guns here. But no, I think this is a pretty typical start ahead, stay ahead match race. Callahan had the advantage off the start line, hit the first shift, and then was just very disciplined about staying between Cole Tapper and the mark. And I think that kind of reflects a lot of Justin Callahan's maybe fleet racing background. He's just really smart. If he can find a way to stay away from the other boat, pick his shifts, and just sail his own race, he'd much prefer that rather than trying to throw elbows with someone who has more match racing experience than him.
I think we're very well said, Jeffrey. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, and if Callahan manages to hold Tapper behind him here, which it looks like he will, then he will go up 2-0, which his coach had a bit of a tougher time handling last year. So we'll see how Callahan manages that this year, being up 2-0 into the final. And yeah, let's see if he manages to close it out.
The translation from Swedish didn't work on that one, actually. Marius, they will now be 1-1.
What did you say?
Score is 1-1.
Oh, score is 1-1. Oh yeah, I forgot that Tapper was that Tapper passed Callahan that last downwind. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good. Then we don't have to see the 0-2 curse come into effect. So I think that's playing to Callahan's hands.
Exactly. Good comeback, Marius.
You know, you spotted Marius 3-4 years ago, and you said this kid's got a future not only in yacht racing, but Marius has got a future as a commentator. He's just got those bright blue eyes and a marvelous sense of humor and personality galore. As Justin Callahan, Oliver Lloyd, and Harrison Strom, representing the Biscayne Bay Yacht Club, have won this second match in the finals over Cole Tapper, Jack Freeman, and Hamish Vass, and evening the series at 1-1.
let me go with to go back to Marius for a moment. He told me when I got on the when he got on the Adios this morning, which is they call it the studio, but we're out here on the water. But he said, "Yeah, Andy, this was my dream. I wanted to be on the Governor's Cup TV team." He says, as you know, he was coaching his younger brother, Tio, and he says, "Yeah, I sort of didn't coach him much, and I wanted him to lose that race, so I could achieve my dream." So he's here, and we're happy to have him.
Yeah, I think it was really good that Justin had had a convincing win here. It was probably quite tough mentally to lose that last one, and I think this will really bring back his confidence, and he'll be really confident going into these next few matches, I think.
So Andy, who do you think is going to win now? Do you want to get your flip-flops out?
One of the two boats.
Smart man.
This is tough. I mean, Tapper is more experienced at match racing than Justin, but Justin has all week been just brilliant, and he's fast, and his crew work's terrific. I might sort of maybe change to Justin, which will immediately jinx him.
So there we go. Andy's already made his first change. After,
First?
after the second change,
First change.
and the third change, and the fourth change.
Well, I admit that I picked Josh, and actually I picked him to win. And he's not only not won, but he's not won the Consolation, so I'm not looking so good. Andy, at least I took a position.
Well, that's good.
Okay, continue to be a crouton. That's okay. I still love you. As we do everybody involved in this amazing event, the 150-plus volunteers that Christine Gribben, our regatta chair for life, as Andrew calls her, has led this, for a dozen years, something like that, on the committee and chair of the committee, and all of Dr. Don Becker's volunteers, the umpires from around the world. We appreciate each and every one of them as well. Chris Bretschker's 20, give or take, members of the Gov Cup TV team. All of you out here watching on the water, a nice spectator fleet, and all of you watching around the world on YouTube and Facebook, as we're looking forward to the third match of the finals between Tapper and Callahan. That, of course, match tied 1-1, as you can see on your screen. Jeffrey Peterson is making his way, Chris, over to promotion. What is that, a North Star 40? What's that boat?
I think that's
Paul,
right.
Paul Blank's boat?
I think it's a True North 36.
True North. True North. I think it's 40. 38. Okay, we'll split the difference, Matt. And Staff Commodore Paul Blank, who was Commodore in this club's 100th year in 2022, has some VIPs there, including Commodore Lisa Myers of the Long Beach Yacht Club, hosts of the esteemed Congressional Cup, the senior version of this regatta, Andy, and the regatta on which this series was based a couple of years after the Congressional Cup started in '65 and the Governor's Cup started in '67.
Yes, sir. We owe a lot to that club, and we've been great friends ever since. They, as we pointed out yesterday, Tom mentioned that we've had the only appearances of the Governor's Cup, Congressional Cup, and America's Cup in the same venue twice here at BALBOA Yacht Club, and that was thanks to Tom Eman for the America's Cup, but thanks to Lisa's fellow club members at Long Beach. The Congressional Cup had never been out of the city of Long Beach before that. I think they took it to the Queen Mary once or something, so it was out of the clubhouse, but it was great.
Let's speaking of Lisa Meyer, let's go over to Jeffrey, who's on promotion with Commodore of the Long Beach Yacht Club. Lisa Myers, welcome to the Gov Cup, and you're here for a particular reason, Commodore, during the awards ceremony, the prize giving today.
I am here with Ficker Cup Chairman Tom Camp, and we are here watching all of those who are trying to aspire to get an invite to the Ficker Cup, which, as you know, is a roadway to Congressional Cup.
And how does that work? The Ficker Cup is a preliminary regatta, qualification regatta, Lisa?
It is. The top two ranked teams go on to Congressional Cup. So this is a roadway, this is a feeder event into Ficker Cup, which obviously feeds directly into Congressional Cup.
Now, if Cole Tapper, who sailed in Congressional Cup, if he were getting an invitation otherwise, and if he were to win here, would Justin Callahan then get that invite, or would it go somewhere else?
So we have the opportunity to consider that, because we also have to consider that Cole Tapper is high enough in the rankings, World Match Race Tour and W World Sailing rankings, to qualify to get into Congressional Cup. So that's not a good answer, but that's the answer that I have, because those rankings do play a part in who gets invited into Congressional Cup. Which
makes, of course, perfect sense. Can we shift topics for a moment? You were the co-chair of the Long Beach Olympic Classes Regatta a couple weeks ago, the lead up to the Olympics in 2028. The 10 classes that will be racing there, and we had thought all 10 classes would be raced in Long Beach, but lately a city council person on the City of LA City Council made an effort to change some of the classes to be raced at San Pedro, as you Angelinos call it. We would say San Pedro, but I'm not amused by that. I know you probably don't want to comment, Lisa, but I'm still hoping that we can get all 10 classes to Long Beach like we had the 8 classes there in 1984 for what is widely regarded as one of the best Olympic regattas in the modern history of the sport. I was there, you were there, and the yacht clubs here in SoCal all contributed so beautifully to race management and beyond. And I sure hope we get you all 10 classes in Long Beach like you had here for the recent Long Beach Olympic Classes Regatta, the warm-up regatta for 2028.
You know, we had a great OCR, and we had 7 yacht clubs, including BYC, BCYC, Newport Harbor, all up in Long Beach helping with regatta management. They're trained, they're ready to go, so whatever decisions are made, really what we all care about is that the sailors get good, fair courses, that we get the broadcast time, sailing remains an Olympic sport, and that the sailors are all safe and happy, and they've got great qualifying races. So our efforts are on that. We're going to help everybody to sail their best in hopes of qualifying for their countries.
Well, you are a true diplomat. Perhaps you will be our next Secretary of State or the Secretary General of the United Nations. I am not diplomatic. As you know, I'm a talk show host, and I say what I mean and mean what I say, and I guarantee everybody listening and watching, as I've said on my bi-weekly podcast, the best option for all concerned, including and especially the sailors, is to have all 10 classes in Long Beach, not half of them in San Pedro. There at Terminal Island and the prison and the port, the very busy port of LA, where the ships are going in and out, where the crime situation in and around the port of LA is, shall we say, difficult. And more power to you, Commodore. Thank you very much for joining us on the commentary here. And Andy's got a comment before we leave you.
I don't have a comment, Commodore. It's good to see you, and I'm really glad you're out here, and you are by far on the most fun boat.
I am indeed, and thank you. This is a fabulous regatta, and we are all delighted to be here. And thanks to Staff Commodore Paul Blank, this is a fabulous boat.
That's great.
Yeah, well, boys in the booth, I think I'm going to hang out here as well. Paul, when I jumped on, offered me an ice cream sandwich. I hear there's martinis and fresh baked cookies even. Oh, and there's more. So actually, I think I'm going to hang out here, and I'll call the racing as I see it from here. It's a very comfy spot.
Get back on board.
Okay.
Thanks, Commodore. Thanks, Jeffrey. I'm Paul Blank, Staff Commodore Paul Blank's True North 38, one of the VIP boats out here. We've heard some sound signals. Foxtrot, code flag F, which is the attention signal, the 7-minute signal, Matthew, has just been lowered. What's next?
Next will be 5 minutes. So the only race this time is going to be the Callahan Tapper race, so the final. So the Petit Finale is done. Pinkney taking 3rd place. So we got one match on the race course. It's the final, tied at 1 apiece. This is to see who gets to match point first.
You've noticed, if you saw some of the wide shots there, you saw a lot of the spectator boats. And one of the fun things about this series is that, as is typical, all the racing boats that are finished tie up behind one of the other of the spectator boats. So the sailors really get to sort of relax and dive in the water if they want and watch some really good match racing. So I think it's very cool.
Has it gotten a little softer here, guys, looking up the track, Matt?
It looks light. It looks a little bit more consistent, but light. I'm not sure it's quite the 8 knots that Bobby Steele promised us. It looks pretty soft. Looks more like 5 knots.
Oh, if that.
What's the time of day?
We're down 2:19 is the time of day.
Yeah, so it's still, for a thermal breeze like this, it's still a bit early, but I don't think we're going to see a lot. But, this is enough to sail in. We've had some really good races here. I don't think in any one of those races, if you split really wide, then you can blame that I fell in a hole. But if you don't, the race is perfectly fair.
And again, sorry to belabor the point, but these Alan Andrews designed Gov Cup 22s were designed for this condition as well as up to 18, 19 knots. And they have all week long performed very well in this lightish Newport Beach condition. Matt, here comes the entry at the 4-minute mark between Callahan and Tapper. The series for the Gov Cup finals is tied 1-1.
Callahan the yellow entry this time, Tapper the port entry. Tapper boat 6 and Callahan boat 1 as per before.
The windward bot is telling us it's blowing about 6.8 knots at 232. I don't know if I'd agree with this 6.8 knots.
I think it's quite a creative accountant, that bot at the moment.
I think it is.
The Mark bot's actually motoring into the wind. It doesn't take into apparent wind. There's no way it's blowing 6.8 on the water. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. The other thing that I hate to bring up, because God forbid the wind should die after this, but this could be an important race. Somebody that gets up 2-1, if you are somehow unable to hold the next race, that's it.
It's finito. It's terminado.
Exactly. So I'd want to win this race a lot.
Good point, Andrew. This is a maybe not a must-win, but it could turn out to have been a must-have one. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Is that the right?
Yeah. You're
right. I went to Michigan. I didn't go to Stanford or Harvard or Yale.
You're just as sharp as you were an hour ago, Tom.
I don't know about that.
No, you're right. You're fading a bit, but
As sharp as a hammer.
Well, that's always true. Maybe I can ask the director of craft services to bring us. Do you need an afternoon tea or coffee? Matt, do you need a tea? You're okay?
I'm okay.
Maybe I can get my iced coffee sent up here from Kari Bretschker as we're in the last 2.5 minutes for match 3 of the finals.
Yeah, Callahan leading away from this start line here. See the crew standing up, looking upwind. You see Callahan just looking, trying to find where's this next bit of wind coming? What's going to be happening in 2 minutes, 15 seconds at go? Where do I want to go up this first beat? Do I want to go left? Do I go right? Marius, Jeffrey, what are you thinking here? You've got more time to think about this than Justin does. What would you be looking for?
Well, when I'm looking up the course right now, as you've been mentioning it, there's part of the course that looks quite glassy. I think maybe in general that the middle left is looking a bit more filled in from my point of view, but yeah, I'm not quite sure actually where I would go. I'd keep a keen eye out.
Well, and that's a good point too, because things change. Yep. What it looks like here at the start may change halfway up the weather leg or
without
on
question.
Subsequent legs.
Yeah, so here Tapper leading back 120 to go roughly. It's about 30 seconds below the committee boat, so a lot of time to burn here. Callahan just trying to bring them down the line, get overlap to leeward and luff Tapper, or he's going to try and swing up to windward if he can't quite make that. Callahan wants to bring it into the line, and Tapper just wants to keep him deep, keep him low, and then pick his ley line to this pin end and see where he can come up.
1 minute.
Yeah, I think Callahan is making a good job here, making it down the line a bit. Now he's just locked out here. I think he still has quite a lot of room to windward, so if he wants the right-hand side here, Callahan, I think he has enough space to be able to tack and make it above the committee mark, and it seems like Cole is committing a bit more to the left-hand side here. What do you think, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think we're just noticing both boats struggling to kind of lay the pin end line on starboard tack. So Cole Tapper maybe with a little bit of an early advantage taking that left-hand side. He's going to be able to have a beautiful acceleration into the pin, and probably I expect to see him tack off this line.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of last start where Callahan were closer to the pin, had a good acceleration, and we saw how that turned out on that first upwind. So well, hoping for Callahan's sake that it won't be like that. But Tapper here a bit early, does it not look like? Yeah,
Boy.
Yeah, so he's going immediately into attack. He couldn't really kill enough time to just go over the mark there. But let's see how this cross turns out with Callahan and Tapper. Looks like Callahan's ahead here.
Yep.
Let's see if he starts defending the right or if he just keeps going.
Awfully close to try to attack on him, though.
I think here, if he were to go for attack there, he'd have to go to leeward and ahead. Just because
Exactly.
if he went to windward, Tapper could have come around to leeward and stuffed it up into the breeze and pinned him up.
You'd like to be about 2 boat lengths ahead when you cross rather than just a close cross like that.
I'd like to be 5 or 10 if I could be.
Well, yeah, me
Unfortunately,
too.
I'm normally the other way behind.
Me
You
too.
know, gentlemen, I'm looking up this race course, and it looks like both boats are kind of sailing into lighter pressure. It looks like straight up the middle. We're right in between the gates right now, and it looks like there's just only pressure in the middle half of the race course here. And I think Tapper, recognizing that, is kind of trying to stay in check. You know, we've been talking a lot about avoiding the big split, and I think it's a very disciplined play by Tapper and his team. Even if Justin gains a little bit out of the left, he mitigates how much he would lose by coming back early.
Yeah, Tapper looks like he's just out of that tack. He's hooked into a bit of a right shift. He looks like he's gone bow up since that tack, and he's able to put his weight on the side and his crew's weight on the side, whereas Callahan's still flat and sitting in the middle of the boat.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Capper has found a beautiful piece of right-hand pressure. It kind of reminds me of the inverse of last race when Justin found the lefty, and Justin's still struggling to get the boat up to speed. I think this is going to be a pretty substantial lead for Tapper and his team.
Yeah, on the we can see it from here, and on the drone footage, it looks like there's a flat spot too that Cole is not in, and Callahan was. So I think you'll see a very big difference here when they come together. But again, if they keep going out on starboard, this wind is definitely phasing a bit, so they may get back into a left phase. So let's see what happens here.
So I think one thing to notice with the rig setups, they got slightly different, is Tapper is running with a little bit less jib halyard than Callahan's team is. So, you know, in this light wind, that's maybe given a little bit of a softer entry to the sail, you know, allowing the depth of the jib to go a little bit further back, which might mean it's able to initiate flow. So when it has dropped off this half a knot, not extra less than we had last race, you know, that might mean he's just able to build speed a little bit easier, just a little bit more of a forgiving setup.
Yeah, and I think it's quite important for Cole to try and get a big lead here and feel confident that he has good speed. He's been struggling a bit these last 2 races, so I think he'd be really happy to get some sort of result here with his boat speed and see if he can keep extending.
Yeah, like you said, Marius, you know, Cole has, in both of these races, Cole has been behind around the first mark, and, you know, he really came in on that final downwind in that first race to snatch victory. But, you know, he's definitely not been in this position off the race so far, so a good little confidence boost for him. At least he knows he was able to win this first half of the first beat, get the first cross. Yeah,
so I'd assume that both boats are on ley line here. Otherwise, I'd think that Tapper would go out and slam dunk on Callahan. It looks like we're getting a bit of a right shift here, and Callahan is pointing down a bit, down to Tapper's batter. So I think this is going to be quite a big loss for Callahan. Either he has to tack 2 more times to avoid the bad air, or he's going to have to live here all the way to the mark, which I think is the least expensive of the 2 options.
Yeah, I think they're both going to be able to lay, at least what we see right now.
I think Tapper just looks like his crew weight's just a little bit further forward. His bow's just a little bit lower in the water, getting that big wide transom out, which maybe that's just helping him a little bit more as well.
Aren't you surprised here, though, Jeffrey, that Cole didn't go an extra boat length and tack on top of Justin here? I think Justin made it came away quite lightly here, and Cole is not even making the mark, it looks like. So definitely a mistake from Cole not going that extra boat length, making sure he would make the mark and really make Callahan suffer. So a bit of a mistake here that might let Justin into the match.
Yeah, you can see what Cole Tapper did is had to luff up to get around the mark without hitting it, and that cost him some speed there, probably a couple boat lengths. So yeah, so Justin Callahan is right back in this in this race here. But a great set by Cole and his crew.
But I think Callahan's going to have to do similar. He's going to have to shoot up. He's not.
Yep.
He's on a very thin lay, maybe a little bit closer, but he's not able to go fast. You see his jib backing a tiny bit there.
But better than Cole did there. But still going very slow around the mark.
So what do you think about this distance here, Jeffrey? Do you think it's close enough where Callahan might be able to cover him a bit on the way back, or is it too much distance here? What do you think?
I don't know. In lighter air, the distance between the boats is, you can be further away and still make an effect. I think Justin at this point, though, isn't really trying to look for a simo jibe here. I think he's looking to find a piece of pressure that Cole isn't going to be able to find, and he's looking to merely close in on this downwind leg. I don't think he's within range, as we would like to say, for a potential lead change on this leg.
So Jeffrey, if you were trying to be, if you were in Callahan's boat right now, what would you be looking to lead the jibe and get out there at the other side, or do you think the side Tapper's going to is the favored side for the gains?
Well, I think right now for the gains-wise, it looks like Tapper, the side that they're sailing to is better. But I definitely would like to lead this stride if I'm Callahan and team, just to make them think about it and worry. If they get, if they're able to simo jibe, maybe the lead boat tends to sail up to the trailing boat just a little bit, like Andy mentioned earlier, to protect their breeze, so he could get a little gain in that way. But that is correct, Matt. I would really like to lead this jibe, but I'm okay following in this case.
So I think they're both approaching the ley line now, looking like Cole is going into the jibe, and we can see Justin matching. So we'll see if we get to see that play into effect, as Jeffrey was talking about. If Tapper's going to head up a bit here and clear his breeze from here, it looks like he should be fine. But yeah, it will be interesting to see on this starboard here going down.
Looking at the gate, doesn't look like there's a massive bias to either the left or right-hand side. So I think, tacticians here are thinking, where do we want to go at the next beat? Do we want to place ourselves on the left or the right here? Looks like they're both really, really high on starboard right now, as though there's a big right-hand shift in at the moment.
Yeah, so well, if we have this right-hand shift, then probably the left mark looking downwind, right mark looking your way, could be a bit biased down there. So in that case, we'll see Tapper trying to hit that ley line. I think he's safe from Callahan's breeze the other way, so I think we'll just see Tapper trying to nail the ley line to that left-hand mark.
And as well, it's the simple maneuver, only one jibe in, and it's a leeward drop, so nice, easy, keeps the crew weight in a good position. So, good for him just being able to extend this race, get it to the finish line as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we can see Callahan matching this jibe here, which maybe I'm not completely sure about, because then you go into if you want the left-hand mark as well, then you have two more jibes. And actually, now thinking back at it, they're probably going to want to split, so they're jibing now. Make sure they get one full jibe in where they can sail for a bit, maybe keep the speed and then drop. So actually, I think that's an all right maneuver from them.
But nevertheless, they'll have one extra jibe there, so Cole's not moving particularly fast getting into that mark.
But this pressure's really softened up, so there is going to be an increase in pressure coming down at some point. So if Callahan can be the one that gets that first, he can close this lead down super quick.
Looks like they got a bit of pressure there, and
yes,
now made the ley line all the way down to the mark. I think they closed the gap up there quite a bit, so still a match.
Yeah, they did indeed. They got a nice puff there. And at first, when I saw them jibe onto port, we can see we're looking right down that line, and he was not laying. But with the increased pressure, he was able to, and definitely gain some there. So it's much closer.
And then rolling straight into attack, he's tacking over onto the lifted tack now as well. So he's, coming around the mark and getting straight onto this next gain.
But Cole Tapper, unlike some of the other skippers, is covering very closely here, just to stay between his opponent and the mark. So any wind shift, a header hurts you a little, but not much.
And looks like Tapper is in maybe marginally better pressure at the moment as well. Looks like this right-hand side is just how the wind's filling in from that right-hand side. Callahan got it first because he was on the downwind, but now Tapper's in slightly more build.
Yeah, and I think we'll hope for Callahan's sake that maybe the wind shifts back a little bit left so they could recover a bit. And also for that last downwind, it would be nice as a trailing boat to have a bit more to play with. If you have a big right shift when you're around that top mark, it'll be a bit more difficult to attack on that last run.
Looks like they're close enough down there and pretty much the same breeze, so there isn't as much of a difference when you get a little farther away. But Cole Tapper being a master class here in what you do when you're ahead. You have a nice lead, you tack on their air the whole time. And again, right there you saw Callahan having to do a downspeed tack. That'll cost him a half a boat length in this kind of breeze.
What do you think, Jeffrey, when you're looking up here? I feel like I see some pressure here on the left side at the top. Could there maybe be a play to jibe early? It won't be the long leg, but maybe that could be a way to come back into this race. It looks a bit light if you're looking to the right or the upwind mark.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think I'd be looking for a jibe set at this point in time. Tapper's taking a very nice speed build to go and extend out to that right-hand ley line, making Callahan do 2 downspeed maneuvers in light air, while he gets to go do 2 upspeed maneuvers in clean air. So definitely gains to Tapper here, and I think he's going to be pretty hard to get a hold of on this downwind run.
Guys, from our slightly higher viewpoint here and being able to watch the drone footage, it looks like the middle of the course has a pretty nice streak of breeze almost all the way down, at least to the gates. And yet on this side, closer to the beach, a lot more glassy.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that too, Andy. So, if I'm Justin, I'm, at this point just trying to do something that Cole isn't doing. It's kind of a last-ditch effort here at this point with that big of a lead. If Tapper goes straight, you got a jibe set. If Tapper decides to jibe, you got to go straight and just try something different.
Yep.
I want to give some cred though to Justin down there at the gate, that just because you're behind, sometimes you still have to follow if it's obvious, like they went around the same gate there, not just split for splitting sake. But yeah, I think in this instance, this is definitely a time where you have to find something.
Well, I don't think he's going to find it in this race.
Oh, maybe those sea monsters you were talking about, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the old adage, the way to win yacht race is get a first place start and continue to improve your position.
But didn't Callahan really win the start? The speculation downstairs from Tyler Wolk and from Commodore Purcell and a few others, winning the start and then didn't cover?
I mean, I think we agreed that Callahan won the start, but because both boats were tacking at go, Justin was in a really tough position to tack in front of Cole Tapper and elected to cross over,
Right.
giving up the right-hand side of the race course, which ultimately filled in. So I think there, I didn't see that righty coming down. Maybe they didn't see it and Tapper's team did, but I think that was the real difference maker right off the line. I think Justin had the better start, but ultimately got, as Morgan would say, about the shift.
Okay, Dennis Connor.
We can see Cole driving here. Let's see Justin matching. Looks like Callahan was quite good at coming down on Cole's line, so decent position to maybe be able to get some sort of roll here, but we'll see.
Well, it looks like Cole tapped still in that breeze coming down the center of the course. Had he gone another 3 or 4 boat lengths, it's much lighter over here.
But there's what, 5 boat lengths of gauge?
Yeah, he's
Gauge
still
meaning the distance apart, side to side.
And you can see here he's coming up, and so the gauge will be narrowing, but he will preserve his wind, so the other boat can't roll him, and that's what's going on here.
And I think he's also approaching ley line now to the boat Tapper, so soon he'll be able to lead the jibe back and be in quite a safe position. I think Callahan realizes that and tries to lead the jibe himself, but we'll see Tapper matching here. And I think, if they just hit this jibe well, they should be in quite a good position, Tapper. It's not like when I was sailing as Jeffrey and we were jibing horribly, where we would be very worried.
Just throw.
But it's close though. They've closed the gauge a lot.
Just throw your crew under the bus, Marius. That's
I think
fine.
that was I think I was taking the twins there in the entry. That was the problem. But you don't want me doing anything from the Traveller.
Well, a slight collapse in Callahan's chute, which in this kind of situation can be, a quarter of a boat length, half a boat length. So Cole will, although this is very close, Cole will win this.
Yeah, Tapper coming through the line ahead here. 2 boat lengths to go. Probably going to roll into a jibe if Callahan goes into a jibe just to maintain wherever he is relative. Tapper coming across to come 2-1 up.
Well sailed. Jeffrey's right, though. That first cross was crucial. When you're that close aboard, Justin had to decide, do I want to stay to the right or stay to the left? If he had wanted to stay to the right, as Matt, you pointed out, you tack under him on his lee bow and lead him to the right. But once you cross that closely, he could not tack on his air. He had to go left.
Right.
I think, an interesting point of that, too, though, is I think Justin accelerated maybe a little early into the committee boat, and if he really did want that right-hand side, he could have just waited a little bit longer, got an acceleration, and then started on port. But because he was tacking at go, even if he had lee-bowed Cole there, I think Cole might have been in a position to roll him just because he was so light, and Cole was able to speed build into that while Justin's doing 2 downspeed tacks. It would have been a very difficult maneuver to pull off, even if he had chosen to do so.
From our viewpoint, I'm not sure I agree with you. He was pretty much up to speed. I think he could have done that, but I agree with you. Yeah, you want to extend as long as possible in light air after your tack.
I started at woulda, coulda, shoulda here, but you guys have presented, thankfully, a graduate level discussion here on match racing tactics, match racing strategy. Thank you guys. Terrific job here in the finals of the Governor's Cup for 2025. Cole Tapper now leading the finals 2-1. I'm pretty sure they're going to roll right into another match. We shall soon see. Match 4, it's first to win 3, so Maddie, it's a must-win for Team Callahan if they're to stay in this series and extend it another match.
Correct, yeah. So Callahan, Tapper's on match point. Callahan needs to come out and needs to get this win here. I mean, I think what we've seen from Callahan and his team is that they can get wins in this. They've done it all week and they're sailing well today, so I don't think they'll be too worried about getting the win. They just know they need to do it.
Well, and as you said, they came out of the rounds robin at the top of the leaderboard. They won, 19 of their 22, I think from memory. I don't have the list in front of me, the leaderboard, but they won 19 of their 22 matches in the double round robin. And in the light air and also in a little more breeze. But Cole Tapper, of course, for those of you who may not know, he is the defending champion from last year, and he has his same veteran crew with him, Hamish Vass and Jack Freewind. So we shall see here if Callahan can pull a win against Tapper, get a win in this match 4 of the finals. In the meantime, while we have a bit of a break here, I just want to compliment all the umpires. They've got an expert group of umps from around the world, led by Katie Maxim, who's a Balboa Yacht Club member, actually sister of our esteemed Regatta chair, Christine Gribben, and Katie, is the chief umpire, what we call chump in the umpiring world. That's not a pejorative. That is a nice term, a shorthand term for the chief umpire. Katie Maxim from the USA. Damien Balder, who chaired the umpires last year, was the chump last year from Australia, is back with us. Patrick Burks from the USA is with us. Bruce Cook, also from the USA. Ben Fells from Australia. Sandy Grosvenor from the U.S. Jeff Pedrick from the U.S. David Pelling from Canada has been with us many times, an old friend. John Pratt from the U.S. Roger Purdy from New Zealand. Masa Tanaka from Japan is back. Jules Tronquet from Deutschland from Germany. Charlie Welsh here from Newport Beach, and another American ump, and Jerry Zielong from China. This group of umpires have done a terrific job. I haven't seen a bad call all week. Inevitably, there are some. But you only have to get more than half of them right, and these umpires get many more than that. It's something probably in the 80, 90, 95% of their calls are right. In fact, I'm sure north of 90%. Terrific job that I've seen the umpires doing this week.
Yeah, the umpires definitely have done a great job this week. You know, that they give you the instant decision. Sometimes you don't like it, and but what they've done really well, what they do really well is they do briefings in the evening where if you've got a question about why a call was made and you don't quite understand it, then you can ask them. So, you know, I think that's one of the key things is the open-mindedness of a lot of the umpires this week, as the kids have said, is really useful.
Well, and you're right, I think, to bring up the umpire debriefs, because they do that, and they offer the competitors, the skippers, the chance to ask questions, crews, and frankly, anybody else. We've covered a couple of their debrief sessions in the morning show, the 0900 morning shows, during the competitors' briefing. And I'm watching, because I'm up on the dais watching the faces of everybody in the crowd, and they lean in and get very intense. And I've had dozens of comments from people around the world saying, that is really interesting to hear the umpire debriefs. Can you please run more of those? And I'll remember, I will, just a quick memory from 1988 when we first umpired a major match racing championship. We had experimented with umpiring in 87 with the Maxis and a couple other minor events, but the 88 Congressional Cup, as I mentioned when we had Commodore Lisa Myers on a few minutes ago, that was the first major match racing championship that was ever umpired, thanks to Long Beach Yacht Club, who let us do it and indeed helped lead the way. And at that event, we invented the penalty. We didn't know what the penalty should be. Should it be a 720? Should it be a 360? Should it be a jib drop or a spinnaker drop or some similar something? And we came up with this, as you say, you like to call it the opposite of what you would normally do. It's a jibe upwind or a tack downwind. And the late, great Cy Gillette of Hawaii came up with that, actually. But we had all these competitors, top-notch competitors, America's Cup types as well, great judges who had not done much umpiring. None of us had at that stage. And we were offering, in fact insisting, that I was the chief umpire, chairman of the jury, and I insisted that we do these debriefs. And some of my fellow umpires and judges wanted no part of that. They said, you mean we're going to stand up at the end of the day and explain in front of a bunch of hot-headed, aggressive sailors what these calls were all about? And some of them declined. But after a day or two, it not only proved to be very useful for all concerned, but it lowered the whole tension in the regatta, and it made it much more friendly, much more familial. And as you noted, Matt, that has continued to this day. Just a great atmosphere in those umpire debriefs, thanks to the competitors, thanks especially to the umpires. And this system, which has now evolved over somewhat 35, 37 years since Long Beach Yacht Club kicked it off at the 1988 Congressional Cup. Matthew, we have a foxtrot signal, a 7-minute signal for this match 4 in the finals. I'm still betting on Callahan. I'm not going to, unlike Andrew, who's back and forth and stuck his finger in the air and seeing which way the wind blows, or as you call him, a flip flopper.
Yeah.
He also is keenly aware of and sensitive to all these competitors, their backgrounds, their histories, more so than any of us. What's your call?
I've said Tapper all week. I think game face, end of the week Tapper was just going to be just that little click ahead. I see Callahan winning this race. I can fully see it. I'm 50-50 on this race, but Tapper only needs one, Callahan needs two, and they're both able to beat each other. I just struggle to see Callahan not winning one of these next two.
I'm going to ask, while we're waiting this week, if we can get to Jeffrey Peterson and Marius Vesterland, I'm going to ask our crack spotter just to tell me who his choice is. His choice is Tapper. He's with you, Matt. That is Ken Sherb as we call him, or Ice Cream Sherbert.
It's a good job me and Ken are aligned, because often when we go sailing, it's a bit useful if we sail together and we both think the same way. So,
do we have Jeffrey?
So here we got, you know, looking at the course here, very, very patchy. Looks like the breeze on average is a little bit up. Like the peaks, the gusts are a little bit windier than the last race, but there's big holes. You know, in some of the lower down bits of this lower pressure, you know, looks really glassy. So I think this will be a big snakes and ladders game.
There's the 5-minute signal, Matt, in the entry, for the entry, which is at 4 minutes. Cole Tapper from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia leads this final series 2-1 over Justin Callahan here from the States, the Biscayne Bay Yacht Club. And these are two very, very fine sailing teams, and especially match racing teams. Justin Callahan sailing with his mates Oliver Lloyd and Harrison Strom, and Cole Tapper, of course, with Hamish, don't call me Voss, Hamish Vass. I keep calling Hamish Voss. Hamish Vass and Jack Freeman, who's actually a Kiwi, as they are leading over Callahan 2-1 with just a few seconds ago, Matt, into the pre-start.
Yeah, just coming up on the entry here. A couple of seconds till 4. There we go. 4 minutes. Coming in, line looks relatively square, maybe a little bit of starboard bias at the moment, but you know, pretty square on this line. So expecting to see same as we've had before, where this all comes down to the final approach, that final minute 20. If you push in well and you're behind, you're in a good position. If you're the lead boat and you kill well, as both these boats have done, you kind of get the advantage.
Is there a touch more breeze?
So the wind's a lot more patchy. So like there's big holes, but in the gusts it's definitely up a little bit.
Still nothing to write home about. 5, possibly 6 knots here out of 218, so 218, which is just west of south. 180, of course, being the southerly direction. We're looking to the south here off Newport Beach. In the afternoon, approaching 1500, approaching 3 p.m. here as the boats are in a dial-up. Tapper to the right and Callahan to the left.
Yeah, Tapper's got really good gauge on this dial-up. You can see his mast is roughly, you know, the traveller of Callahan, and he had a bit of separation there, so I think he could have held in there a little bit longer if he wanted to. Not sure why he bailed out there.
Coming over toward us now. They'll go past the bow, it looks like, of the committee boat. This may be that, the name of the boat's Defiant, right, Chris? Defiant, and this may be the last Gulf Cup for Defiant because the club's bought a new race committee boat. Defiant has served us so well as the signal boat, they call it, the main race committee boat, for so many years. Coming now astern of us here on Adios, the media boat, the Gulf Cup TV boat.
And we can see here both skippers really are standing up, looking into the course. I think both of these teams are really, really good at match racing, so it comes down almost more to who's the better sailor, who's better at picking the best side on the first up. And we're speaking to Callahan in between the races, and he was really believing in that left side on that first up in the last race, and that was the wrong side, and he got the side he wanted. So we'll see if he makes a better choice this time around.
Hey, Marius, Jeffrey, what are your choices? What do you guys like as far as left or right going uphill?
That's a tough one, Tom. I at this point, I really don't know. I think I'm seeing just a little bit more breeze on the right-hand side as we approach the last bit of this sequence. So I'm going to go with course right.
But real good position here from Callahan here. You know, he's able to get them down speed slow and be able to throw down some dirt here. You know, real powerful position here if he can kill this.
I think he just caught Tapper to windward, which was a mistake from Tapper, I think. I don't think you want to be hooked here with 1 minute to go. See if he stays here, if he decides to tack and dive away. He tacks and Callahan's following. I don't think Tapper has the ability to tack back. Maybe he's extending slightly. What do you think, Jeffrey? No, it looks like he's going for the jibe, and that means if Callahan can match the jibe here, I think Tapper's going to be really early. Instead, Callahan decides maybe he wants the right-hand side. He'll go around and probably tack here, I'd imagine.
Callahan looking like he's trying to achieve as much of a wide right start as possible here.
Yeah, only 15 seconds to go. I think if Callahan really wanted the right with a big gap, he could have waited slightly with the tack there, so he could have come in with more speed and wouldn't have to kill the gap here down to leeward. He's still going to get a big gap though. And Cole is again maybe slightly early. Yeah, good start from Callahan here.
The bot is telling us that the weather mark that the wind is around to, does that say 243?
247.
247. That's pretty well right. That starts to become, Tom, when it's important to go right.
And it's ramped up just a touch, Andrew, up to now. The bot says 7.1. We say the bot. There is an anemometer up there and a wind direction indicator on the top mark that's coming back via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. I'm not sure. I guess it must be Wi-Fi, GPS, satellite.
Yeah, when you were telling me 243 at the upwind mark, I think I see Jeffrey smiling a bit here because he has his crew to the right of Cole, and I think we're just now starting to see the right hand shift coming in. Tapper is tacking here though. Let's see how the first cross goes. If Justin still wants the right, he'll have to tack here in front of him or just to leeward.
Another one of those close. Ooh, well, that was fine, but close. Okay, now Tapper had no choice but to tack at that point. Callahan extending for 3 or 4 boat lengths to get up to full speed, and Tapper is looking like he agrees that the right is the way to go. So he didn't want to go too far out to the left.
I also don't think he wants to get knocked out too far on the left-hand side. I think they're almost already on the ley line. And if he just goes all the way to ley line, you make it very easy for Callahan to tack back and then maybe lee bow and squeeze him off the ley line. In this position, I think it would be more difficult for Callahan to be able to do 2 quick tacks and make Tapper suffer on the way in. From here, I'd probably see Callahan going with his tack, so he'll make the zone instead. Because if he tacks here, I think Tapper will just duck and Tapper will get the right-hand side.
Right.
Tapper looks like he's got some absolute wheels at the moment. Looks like he's going a lot faster. Lower, but he is going real fast, coming in well.
Yeah, I think Justin's been in a high groove out of that tack ever since Cole did too, trying to close up the gauge, because if Cole's able to pin him into this corner and not prevent him from tacking before he gets to the zone, then Capper will be able to control when they go back to the mark. But I don't think he's in a great spot here. And Justin might be able to lay just the leeward side edge of this zone and would be entitled for room to tack in this case as his proper course to go around the mark.
Yeah, and in fact, he's done it. He was doing a terrific job in high mode there, and he has forced Cole Tapper to tack away.
Okay,
Great move.
You graduate students or you professors of match raceology, explain, Matt, if you would please, what the zone is and why that's important.
So the zone is a 2 boat length circle around the windward mark. So in normal fleet racing it's 3, but in match racing it's 2 boat lengths. And basically if Justin Callahan were to get into the zone, clear ahead or overlapped on the inside, he has rights to tack onto starboard and then be up, and Tapper has to let him round the mark how he wants. So you see here how Callahan's coming in just below the ley line. He's coming in within 2 boat lengths. So if Tapper were on port tack, Callahan can't starboard him, but Tapper must give him room.
Yeah, I was slightly surprised when Tapper tacked out that Callahan didn't follow, but I think that Callahan went through quite a bit of shop there, so Tapper got quite a free lane here coming into the mark. It'll be really tight and a very exciting downwind for us commentators here, I think, going down.
And a slightly better rounding for position with the speed that Tapper's getting. You see he's flapping his jib there because he wants to keep this swing to be able to come down. Callahan trying to do a good job of sailing high, match the speed, and then come down whenever he wants to come down and has speed.
Well, Justin luffed him there pretty well to prevent him from being able to go behind, but now he's able to. Oh, boy. Beautiful sets.
Good set. Yeah.
Beautiful
Good
sets.
set from Callahan.
And perfect job by Tapper just to go onto that leeward edge of Callahan. So when they do inevitably go for the jibe that they're going to have to do at some point, Tapper should be able to be in a strong position to get a roll.
Well, but even if he stays down in that position, if the wind doesn't shift a lot, remember the rule basically is that for Callahan to jibe, which he's jibing, boy, Tapper was almost close enough to prevent Callahan from doing a legal jibe. And now Callahan going to a luff, but it's not going to work. Tapper's going to roll him.
Brilliant move there by Tapper.
Yeah,
There.
absolutely.
And the speed delta here is incredible. He's going to be able to extend away and down to Callahan's line and maybe even lower. Real good boat handling there by the Aussies.
Yeah, a luff can be a great thing, but it also can be a disaster, and that one was a disaster. The other boat
The
has
luff by Callahan.
Yeah, the other boat has its spinnaker full. Basically, they're going to jibe right with you, but to try a luff immediately when you're not even bow to bow. I mean,
Exactly.
he was abaft the beam, as it were, which one of you guys can explain. But luffs only work a little bit, and you have to be in exactly the right position to do it.
Abaft a beam. Now there's a couple of words out of the old racing rules book. That means your bow is aft of the middle of the boat or the beam of the windward boat. Abaft a beam, Andrew.
It is an old sailing thing, but I'm an old sailor.
We're old.
We're old sailors, so we know that stuff.
These other kids have never heard of that, right, Matt? Abaft a beam.
I've heard of it. You got to remember a lot of terms in the UK are about 500 years out of date.
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
Well, I think we're seeing here Tapper soaking, but I think it's important to know, Justin, while that was an aggressive maneuver, maybe not the right time for it, he's still well within reach, and he's going to be able, we're going to have a little bit of port on this line.
Sure.
And depending on where you want to go on the upwind leg, Justin may be able to take the left turn out of him.
Well, this wouldn't be the first downwind leg in this during this week that we've seen 2 or 3 lead changes just on one downwind leg.
Yeah, Callahan going to try and do to Tapper what Tapper just did to him now.
Yep. But Tapper doing a great job there with a coming immediately up to a very high course after the jibe with his spinnaker full, and again just to keep his wind clear.
What amazing racing happens when we have S sails, symmetrical spinnakers, as opposed to A sails in match racing, Andrew.
Yep. No, I agree with you. A lot more tactics, and I like tactics.
Tapper is a clear ahead into both zones here, so he's going, I want to take whatever thing Callahan's going to and just trying to force him down. So you saw him clear ahead so he could lead to either gate, and then he switched when Callahan went across his stern. And a green flag there. Callahan just saying, hey, were you sure you were clear ahead? And umpire saying yes and giving a green flag. Really smart move there by Tapper.
Cole gaining another boat length here, just Tapper coming out very slow and in the being a little bit hurt by Tapper's breeze, and there he goes. He has to get out of that. But again, it's a downspeed tack.
I just think that was just too aggressive a maneuver by Callahan there. He had room to go into the left turn, but he didn't have room on the right turn. And given how headed the boats are on port, I just don't see that being a profitable move. Even if you do get room there, you're going to wind up on their hip out of the lark. So I think Tapper and his team just being a little disciplined, and Justin maybe getting a little antsy here.
Yeah, I think he just picked the wrong gate, Jeffrey. I think he had every opportunity to go with speed into the right-hand gate and lead up to the west, which so far has proven pretty good. And yeah, and now look, this has really turned really bad for Callahan here.
Tapper doing a low mode over the top here, getting bow forwards here, so he's mitigating any chance for a right shift, just really turning the screw, turning that one boat length into 2. Real good sailing here by Tapper just to try and get that little gap out.
Well,
Yeah, I think if Justin maintains the distance we have here, I think he has a good shot of passing on the downwind. But if Cole just extends a little bit more, Justin will be in real big trouble, I think.
I think he's already in real big trouble. Marius and Cole just doing the textbook. There's nothing worse than a guy is what I call head reaching, basically reaching down slightly on you just to sit on your breeze the whole time. There's nothing you can do. You have to keep tacking. But it's, yeah, and there he goes. And Tapper immediately tacking to cover. Classic match racing, Mr. Eamon.
Yes. Isn't it amazing?
Yep.
We've seen it all week. I wonder why.
Yeah. Because these are some of the best match racers in the world. I don't care what age.
In some of the best match racing boats.
Indeed.
It would be better if it was foiling, though.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God, bite your tongue. We will have no foiling talk on this broadcast. Although, Tom, as I said, I talked to Victor Melchior from Denmark, who is, yesterday, who sails Wasps, which is the one-person, one-design class with foils, and loves them. But he said, but no, the America's Cup should be in real boats.
Real boats.
Sailing should be for sailors, is what he said. Couldn't agree more.
Here looks like Tapper's just extended another half a boat length, another
Yep.
boat length.
Yep.
This is hard for Callahan here. He's going to struggle to project down onto Tapper's sails here.
It's the worst feeling in the world, being behind like that when the guy's just constantly covering you. It's just like, what can I do? What can I possibly do? And you got to do what he's doing, but it doesn't often work.
It's sea monster time, gentlemen.
It is sea monster time.
If
Another
there's-
great set by Callahan, and as you pointed out,
by Tapper. Yeah.
I mean Tapper, and as you pointed out, his veteran crew, and they're so smooth, and they like each other, and they sail together for a couple of years, and that's that's against someone that Justin said this is he's never had the same crew in a match race series as the one before.
I've not been in the boat with them, but on shore they are also co-equals, if that's a word. They treat each other as not only brothers but as equals on shore, and I think they're all there's Cole Tapper's the helm, and he's going to make the final decisions, but all three of them are a unit of equality and more.
Well, Tom, when we interviewed them, all three of them,
On the road to the Governor's Cup.
The Governor's Cup show on Tom's Sailing Illustrated show, Cole said, yeah, sometimes they need to, perk me up or beat me over the head or whatever, and he said, and then sometimes it's the opposite. But when they're all great friends like that and used to sailing with each other, you can do that, and it helps immeasurably.
And one's a Kiwi.
And one is a Kai 1W1, mate.
On top of all that.
There you go. Yeah, he still didn't know where he is, but that's sort of typical Kiwi.
The land of the long white cloud.
Indeed, and a wonderful country.
Indeed. Everybody living within a few kilometers of the sea. The kids, my daughter Meg, I think I said yesterday or in previous shows, our daughter Meg went to school twice in New Zealand during the 2000 Cup in 2003 and loved it. Learned to swim, learned to sail. Well, she learned to sail a little bit, but had sailed a bit before that. Go to school, take your shoes off, run around barefoot, and learn to love life.
Well, where else, if you're a sailor, where else would you want to live but the city of sails? Auckland, New Zealand.
Or, for that matter, anywhere, except Australia also, all their major cities, with the exception of Canberra, the capital, which is inland, all the others are on the coast and great sailing cities, whether you're in Sydney or in Melbourne or in Perth, Adelaide for that matter.
Yeah, I better stop saying that nice stuff about New Zealand because I'll lose my honorary Australian card.
Just as long as you don't lose your accent.
No, I might. Okay, well, this is again textbook match racing. Cole has given up a little bit of his lead, but he has protected that lead. It made it impossible for the other boat to pass him. That's just, all that is, I'll tell you, is just another year with 5 or 6 major match races under his belt that Justin has. Says nothing about Justin as a sailor because he's superb. He just is not that, experienced in match racing.
Well, and since the last Gov Cup, which of course he won, Cole Tapper, he also then won the World Youth Match Racing Championship. He also has sailed in the...
Here we go, the finish.
In the America's Cup, the Yandu Australian America's Cup team, Youth America's Cup team, which he led, and the Congressional Cup, and now he has won the 2025 Governor's Cup. Cole Tapper, Hamish Vass, and Jack Freewin of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia.
Yeah, I'm so pleased for Cole. He joins us. He joins us now, the 14th member of the 2 Win Club. But every time, Tom, I get emotional. Every time I see the last finish of the Governor's Cup, it brings back such great memories. I mean, I know exactly what he's feeling right now. And it's wonderful. It really is. This is special, and he deserved it. They were the best team here.
The boat's coming back to them. Look at that.
The boat loves them. It's had a great day.
We should explain that for those of you who are first-time watchers of the Governor's Cup, the tradition is all 3 crew members jump overboard, and the bosuns are prepared for that. They get over to try to hold the boat. But in this case, the boat likes them. The boat didn't want to leave them.
That's like your dog, Morgan.
Exactly.
There's Patrick Lieber, the deputy bosun, who hopped on. Father Greg Newman put him aboard to rescue the boat, but it had already gone back to the sailors.
Well, that's great. Cole Tapper, as we talked about, did not have the best series I've ever seen him have. He was into the semis, but lost a number of races to all 3 of his semifinal competitors in the rounds robin. and yet, you know, the cream rises to the top. I mean, he's just more experienced. He's won almost everything there is to win over the last 18 months to 2 years, and now he's won one that I know is important to him, which is awesome.
Matthew, a little analysis from you before we get Jeffrey over there to have an interview.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Cole and his team sailed absolutely perfectly today. That's all they needed to do.
Speaking of which,
guys
there's
in the studio.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm here with the 58th Governor's Cup winner, Cole Tapper, Hamish Bass, Jack Froen.
That's awesome.
Guys, how's it feel? Welcome to the club. 2 wins each.
I tell you what, to be under the pump so much this week and then to come together and pull it together across the last 2 days, I think it was a different team out there the last 2 days, and we are just so happy and so relieved. But also very sad because this is our last youth event. It's nice to go out on a high, but also it's just so fun racing all our friends, like racing Justin, racing Josh, and like everyone that's here. We just enjoy racing them, but it's also good to win. So we're really happy about that.
Yeah, congratulations, you guys. Hamish, Jack, you guys got anything to say?
Big thank you to our coach Jordan Reese. You know, he's coached us through so many regattas for years now, and he always knows just what to say at the right moment. And you know, this wouldn't have happened. None of our successes would have happened without Jordan. So big thank you to him.
Yeah.
Jack?
Yeah, thank you to the CY for helping us get here and the YSA. We're really thankful for all their support over our youth match racing career. Yeah, just really proud of how the boys lifted over the week, and you know, we had a ropey start, but we built and got better every day, so really proud of everyone.
Yeah, Tom, Andy, any questions for these champions here before I let them carry on with their celebrations?
So does this mean, Cole, does this mean you're going to go back to blonde hair?
Andy's asking if you're going to go back to blonde hair now.
I did one regatta with blonde and it didn't go so good, so I think I better stick with brunette.
Well, if you know, Cole, if you had told us that earlier, I would have predicted that you would win.
He said if you had told him that earlier, he would have predicted that you would have won.
Did he vote against us?
Yeah, Andy, Hamish wants to know if you voted against him.
Hamish, there was a great politician at one point who was trying to explain in Washington that he says, I voted before.
Start of the week, yeah.
He says I voted for it before I voted against it, and I was for you, but then I was against you, and then I was for you.
Yeah, well, Andy was changing his decision pretty much every match, so he was being relatively diplomatic in that regard. But we'll try to hold him to a better standard next time around. Congratulations, fellas! That was an epic week of sailing. I'm sure it feels good to take this one home. And tell us where you guys are going next. I hear you got an early flight out of here today.
Yeah, we got to be on very good behaviour for the next couple of hours because we got to be flying out tonight at 9:30, and we're landing straight into more racing. No practice day, so tomorrow could be a very, very interesting start to the round robin.
Well, if I'm going to do my job correctly, I'm going to make sure you're on your worst behavior, but I will make sure you make your flight. How about that? Gentlemen, back to you guys in the studio.
Let me ask one more question, Jeffrey.
Oh, one more question.
So Cole, you know, again, you qualified for the Ficker Cup. Tom was on earlier with Lisa Meyer, the Commodore of Long Beach, and just paraphrase this, Jeffrey. But and you know, she said that Cole has a high enough, you know, ranking and record that he might get directly invited into the Congressional Cup no matter what. But otherwise, you are going to sail, or you were invited to sail in the Ficker Cup. Do you plan to do that?
Cole, okay, the question was, we have Lisa Meyer here, who obviously is going to be handing out an invitation to you and your team for winning this event, but she had mentioned that you might be ranked high enough to go straight to Congressional Cup. But the question they want to ask is, if you do get invited to the Ficker Cup, are you going to go and race it?
Oh yeah, 100%. We love any regatta in Southern California, and I think that Govs and Congressional Cup are probably like our favourite events on the calendar, and it's because of the people at the yacht clubs, and we love coming over here, and we hope they'll have us for sure.
All right, I have one more question for Cole. If you, you know, obviously you said you love both yacht clubs. Which yacht club has better boats?
Oh, well, it's a very different. They're two different. That's like asking apples and oranges. They're both the best in their class.
Very diplomatic answer. I thought I could get him there.
Jeffrey, tell him if he had answered wrong, there goes the Ficker Cup invite.
Jeffrey Peterson,
well,
thank you very much indeed. When you get back aboard with Marius, thank him as well for the dockside, shoreside, roving boat commentary you've been giving us all week and the coaching job that you have done. There's a nice victory photo. Let's go to Matt Whitfield for his final analysis, and then Andy before we wrap this up. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, Cole's shown that on the final day of Gov Cup 2 years running, he's pretty impenetrable. He's pretty awesome sailor. Him and his crew did awesome today, sailed really well, and I think, you know, over the course of those 4 races in the finals, they had some times where they weren't performing, but overall they sailed to the best of their ability and, you know, got a second Governor's Cup.
I'm just, it was great stuff. I mean, great racing, close racing. All these 4 teams were very evenly matched, but I think Cole's just extra experience and confidence was the difference, and good on him.
And a bit of a vindication, not that Jeffrey needs one, but having been beaten last year by Cole Tapper and his team in the finals of this, and Jeffrey was going for the three-peat, didn't achieve it. No one has, but now we've got and he's gauged out, so there's no chance for Cole to get a three-peat. But it makes Jeffrey look, his loss to Cole last year look, you know, a little less upsetting, if that's the right word, than it was. And it's just, as you have all said, just an amazing regatta all week long from top to bottom, from first place to 12th, 12 teams from 6 nations in these fabulous boats at this wonderful yacht club supported by 150 plus volunteers, including our Gov Cup TV team, led by Chris Bretschker, our producer-director, and the rest of the gang here on Adios. We will be live again with the press conference, the finals press conference, which Andy will host at 1700 p.m., at 5 p.m., 1700 Pacific, 5 p.m. here. So that's just in under 2 hours from now, back under the Gov Cup Pavilion. And then we'll roll right into the awards, right into the award ceremony, the prize giving, led by Christine Gribben and Commodore Hemphill and his flag officers. And we hope you can join us for that. In the meantime, thank you very much, all of you around the world who've been watching yesterday and today, our coverage of the 58th Governor's Cup, the oldest and most prestigious international youth match racing championship in the world, hosted annually by Balboa Yacht Club. Tom Eamon alongside Andy Rose, Matt Whitfield, and also Jeffrey Peterson and Marius Vesterland, who were on the water with us today. Thanks for joining us, and so long from Newport Beach, California.